Welcome back to the reaction stream, this time out of Blank Gameweek 29. Oh wait, we are in the middle of it, and Gameweek 30 is several weeks away. We are approaching an international break. We've got a Carabao Cup final tomorrow, and also several more matches for Blank Gameweek 29. As you can see, it has been once again the same pattern as all season. A terrible Saturday to say the least, and I don't think a Sunday miracle would be enough to salvage a green arrow, but you live in hope. Bruno Fernandes, captain, is probably the only one who can save me, alongside a combination of other players like Robinson, Gabriel, Palmer, who can do the business. I've also got Colwill, but I don't really expect too much from him either. Now, in terms of my transfer plans towards the end of my deadline stream, it came down to two things. So one of them is what I ended up doing, unfortunately, going for Valnolson, selling Semenyo for a hit. I mean, ultimately, I know that wasn't really maybe too logical, to be fair, but I do like buying Gabriel and Fernandes. That was the main appeal of that -4 hit. But the other one was to buy Erling Haaland, which, fair enough, I wasn't like that keen on this week, but he's got Leicester at home next week, got 7 points, of course, today, and I would have bought Elanga. Yeah, so that would have been obviously much better, but it is what it is. I'm here in the good moments, the bad moments, and we can all talk about our Saturday performance. Hopefully, you are doing much better than I am, but yeah, I think I could maybe make things a bit more respectable by the end of the Sunday. Ultimately, though, it probably won't be enough for a green arrow. Drop a like if you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel, and we can share our woes, maybe successes for some people. Definitely not in my case in FPL this week, but maybe next week in Gameweek 30, after a couple of weeks off, just recharging the batteries. That's where we can get back on track. I was on a decent run of 6 green arrows in a row, but it does seem like it will come to an end by the end of Blank Gameweek 29. Easy says 45 points with 2 players to go. I'm just wondering which players those are, but yeah, that's fairly decent, and depending on where you're at, that could be a decent platform for a green arrow. Milenkovic owners feasting while I have Aina. Yeah, I mean, for Forest to concede twice towards the end was very frustrating. It was a great goal by Gajuste. Maybe could Souls do better? I mean, you could be being harsh there, but yeah, we have seen this before where Forest are comfortably ahead against Southampton, now Ipswich, and then they kind of take the foot off the gas and concede a goal or two, and it ends up being very frustrating, but I still like Sells. Oddly enough, though, against the kind of more difficult opponents like Man City and Arsenal, that's where he might thrive sometimes even more. Man City's finish says 23 points of Gabriel and Bruno captain left. Yeah, I hope that for both of our sakes, they can do the business. I mean, I've got even less points than that, of course, and I've got, what, Robinson, Colwill and Palmer? Who knows what can happen tomorrow, but yeah, it's not looking good. No clean sheet today. My hoping for clean sheet broke in 20 minutes before hitting the 90. Yeah, I'm not too surprised, to be fair. I mean, in terms of my predictions, and we can laugh about how bad they were, I think I only got one correct score. So I went for Everton 2, West Ham 1, so ultimately I did expect both of them to score. Ipswich Town 0, Forest 1. I thought Forest would keep a clean sheet, but I was wrong about that. Man City 2, Brighton 1. Southampton 1, Wolves 2. And then Bournemouth 3, Brentford 2. But I did mention a lot of times that Brentford have a great record against Bournemouth. And that's now 5 consecutive away games where they have won there. So very good record there for the Bees across all Premier League matches away from home and, you know, on their travels. Very impressive stuff. And tomorrow we've got Arsenal, Chelsea, Fulham, Tottenham, and then Leicester, Man United, with the Carabao Cup final, of course, between Liverpool and Newcastle. It's also worth mentioning for Semenyo owners, he did get booked again for the 3rd consecutive match. He's now 1 yellow card away from suspension. You're going to have to hope that he doesn't pick up another booking before Bournemouth have played their 32nd league game. Otherwise, he will serve a 2-game suspension. So, yeah, ultimately, I can't even celebrate Semenyo blanking too much because it hasn't really gone according to plan thus far. Maybe Fernandes will make me feel slightly better about things. Man City's finished also says, just got the robot on my Gameweek 30 wildcard. Lovely stuff. Yeah, I think Gameweek 30 wildcard can work very well for a lot of people, but I'm also of the opinion that a lot of people should wait in terms of, is there going to be an announcement during this international break? If that's the case, that will definitely boost the appeal of a Gameweek 30 wildcard. But for those going early and activating the chip now, you can build a lot of team value, which is the big plus point, of course. Crown says 44 points with Riot, Robinson, Bruno and Palmer to go. That's a great position to be in. Yeah, easily 50, 60 points, of course. Yeah, I think 60 would be attainable. Alice Kirk has made some return. Yeah, that's the good thing about him, and that's why my recent wildcard videos I have been advocating him as an option. I thought Brentford would score a couple of goals, but I still like Kirkes because of the assist threat. Christian says, another disaster. I changed my team in the final minutes. I'm an idiot. What did you change it from? Like, I'm just wondering which players you had and the ones you have now. But yeah, I can sort of relate towards, 50-50 call almost. Like I said, Haaland Elanga. And it's not even Haaland who kind of really punished me. It was Elanga from a certain degree, because that would have been a massive differential. It would have secured a green arrow for me, and I could just enjoy the Sunday games. But yeah, I do hold my hands up. I think that kind of Semenyo to Van Osten route is a mistake. I do like the Fernandes and Gabriel transfers though, and if they do produce a haul tomorrow, then maybe I'll feel slightly better about my moves. But yeah, Elanga, I just didn't expect the brace. It was his first ever club brace in his career, so it is what it is. Kenny Senior says Wagwan. Yeah, all good. Not FPL wise, but generally speaking, it's all good. Hopefully you are doing well too. FPL Kevy says, thought I'd spice things up a bit and take Milenkovic out for Aina in my free hit. Enough there. Mbumo Kirk is on my bench. 19 points so far. Yeah, that's going to sting a lot. I mean, it's not that bad having 6 points from Mbumo. He's going to get a bonus, and 4 points from Kirkes. But then again, in a week like this, when you've got 19 points, and in my case, I got 11 with the hit being taken into account, 10 points is like gold from 2 players. FPL Kevy also says, also had Edison in goal. What was I thinking? Oh, well. Did you buy Edison recently, though? That's kind of my question there. But yeah, with City, it's a weird situation, the goalkeepers. I mean, Ortega seems to be nailed on, then Edison comes in, plays 4 or 5 in a row, and then it switches again. 47 points with 3 players to go. Yeah, good stuff. I mean, even if they're crap players like Colwell and stuff, that's a good platform for a green arrow, I'd say. Insane Gamer 7 says, I'm actually done with FPL. So much bad luck this year. In the next season, I know what to do. I finish in Gimmick 32 to 35. Well, just enjoy the ride, Nothing to lose, you could say, if you're really upset with how you're doing right now. But yeah, I'm having my worst season by far, and last season was also the worst one I had, but this could really take the cake, of course. So I'm kind of hoping I can finish strongly. I was on a decent run, but yeah, the Saturday today was pretty painful from an FPL perspective. Mr. Deadline and did not move Cunha and Rodgers out. Now my vacation is ruined. Well, it's difficult to keep on top of deadlines when you're on vacation. Hopefully you are enjoying your holidays, and I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that could maybe assure you a little bit, but yeah, of course, with Cunha missing, obviously the next game due to suspension, Rodgers blank this week, and there are other options to go to. Yeah, it is painful. Yeah, I'm just wondering what you could have done, though. I'm unsure about what your budget was and what your planned moves were. But yeah, in my case, of course, I mentioned with Haaland and Elanga, that was a tough pill to swallow. Callan says, hi Dylan, 56 points of 2 to play, have Elanga Milenkovic, very nice. Of course, Milenkovic with a great goal to open the scoring, and Elanga, cut inside, left-footed finish, bottom corner, Iron Robin-esque, scoring his first club brace. I mean, you've got to enjoy it. I just wish I was on that train as well. I also saw Milenkovic, by the way, in FPL Challenge to Dallo. I mean, what was I thinking? I always said, if I do a late transfer out, it probably means it's going to go tits up in that game mode. 45k now, good start of the game week. Hope you'll have a good game week. Probably not, but thank you for the kind words, and you definitely will have a decent one, so enjoy it. Bench Marmoush for Palmer. I would have probably done the same thing, to be fair. Yeah, and I was quite keen on Phil Foden. When I saw he didn't start, I was surprised. We covered the lineups for the 3 PM kickoffs in the deadline stream towards the end. And Marmoush, I was quite bullish on him starting, and he was a hold in my Transits podcast, but yeah, to have bench points like that, very painful this week. Welcome, Raul. Pieter says, good evening. I had a good Saturday with games, but I'm really done with Semenyo. Yes, I was also done with Semenyo, which is why I illogically sold him for a hit, bought Ivanoson, Bruno, and Gabriel. I'm just hoping Fernandes can really salvage something for me. But Ivanoson should have scored, to be fair, but Semenyo, he's literally right in front of the goal. He's found that space in between defenders, and he heads it onto the crossbar. He should be doing better. Opinions on buying Marmoush and Salah for Foden and Beto? Yeah, it looks very appealing with City facing Leicester, but it could be a case of Marmoush bench there and Foden starts. I think they can coexist in the same team, but we have seen recently it's kind of one or the other, it seems. But yeah, on paper, I really like it. 2 Egyptians in. Great fixtures on paper. Both captaincy options, particularly in the case of Salah, he'd still be top alongside Haaland. That's the big debate going into 30. And yeah, like I mentioned before, Marmoush, maybe I should have gone in that direction instead. Bought Gabriel as well for Trent. I could have afforded it, of course, but I didn't go there in the end. Marmoush captain saved my game week. Really nicely played. I like to see a differential captain like that. I've got Bruno Fernandes, who is a relative differential. I'll show you the captaincy stats very soon. There is a surprise number one, though, and it's not Chris Wood. It's not Erling Haaland in the top 100k. I've just spoiled it. Vissa to Isak and Trent to Konate. Yeah, good moves. I think Vissa being sold in 30 looks like the right time from a fixtures perspective. I'm not entirely sure about Konate, though, even though Liverpool have some good fixtures. Callan says, thanks for not recommending Dango to Semenyo for -8. I mean, look, Semenyo should have scored, and if he does, you'll be like, Dylan, you should have told me to do it, and you're like, unsubscribe, delete, blocked, hidden, whatever you want to do. But yeah, sometimes need some luck in FPL and football, and Semenyo, he's just been a big troll recently, and back-to-back one-pointers, in fact, 3 times in a row. Very frustrating stuff there. Peter says, free hit seems to not have worked out for most. There might be 1 or 2 who have gotten the pick spot on, like an Alanga, Milenkovic, and Haaland or Marmoush. But yeah, I just saw this week and I didn't like it in terms of the free hit for a lot of people. But I understood why some people would have done it, because they might have had 3 players suspended or injured and stuff like that. 3 other players who blank anyway because they're from Palace, Newcastle, Liverpool, Aston Villa. Liverpool held talks with gay representatives, hey? We're linked to Julian Alvarez too. I saw the Alvarez links, but I wasn't aware of the Mark Gay one. Maybe that was very recent, but yeah, I just didn't see it on X or any platform. Good evening to you as well, London W4. Singh says, to make it even worse, my moves were Isak, Cunha, Rodgers and Palmer to Haaland, Ivanovson, Elanga and Bruno. Oof. And yeah, we'll see how Bruno does tomorrow. I'm really hoping he can do something for me. But yeah, Ivanovson would have obviously not done that well anyway. But Elanga and Haaland, that's the same two I'm kind of lamenting about, especially Elanga. That would have been a massive differential, but you can't really have too many regrets. In your case, you're on vacation, you got an excuse. I really have none. I just made the wrong call. Antonio Williams says 33 points with 4 players to go. Bruno, Gabriel, Wanyeri, Palmer. Decent. I think that's fairly decent, and depending on how Palmer does in particular, I think that could be the key to a green arrow for you. Jason Phillips says, free hit and bench boost left. When would it be a good time to use it? There are different ways of using those chips. One of them is to free hit in 33 or 34 and bench boost in 36. I'm actually not against that too much. You could also just bench boost 33, free hit 34. One thing I'm considering now, especially after my transfers today, is to do something like, I think free hit in 33. I think for 34, just use transfers and maybe hits, 35 wildcard and 36 bench boost. That's what I'm looking at for myself, but there are different ways, I think. But ultimately, you should be targeting 33 and 36 for both of them in particular. And with a free hit, you could also use it in the blank game week coming up in 34. But a lot is team dependent, and I'm not sure who you have in your squad. Jakob says, I think most people are having a stinker today. I'm on 24 with 3 players to go. Still better than what I have, to be fair. I might have a few more players in hand, but it is disastrous, especially with what could have been. But yeah, it does seem like a lot of people are having a frustrating week. I'm not too surprised. It's not as bad as Blank Gameweek 29 last season, though. Albeit, at least in that occasion, most people flopped and had a similar score to me or lower. This time, I'm having less than most, to be fair. Josh says 32 with Gabriel, Bruno, Raul, and Wanyeri. Yeah, I like that. Good position to be in. Same with ZT Tech. 39, Palmer and Gabriel to go. Might not be many players left, but they're good ones. They are clashing with each other, but hopefully they can find a way to produce returns. Although, to be honest, I hope Palmer blanks as an Arsenal fan. Looks like a Elanga transfer in worked out. Yes, I mean, I should have gone for it, but did I expect him to score his first club brace in his career? No, otherwise I would have bought him. That was the difference maker, really, for me. Are you wildcarding this game week? It's possible, but I actually like my team for game week 30, believe it or not, despite the stinker so far. Nathaniel also says, stinky game week for me. The Forest clean sheet wipeout has killed my game week, but somehow still on a green. Well, if you're on a green arrow, it's not as bad as you think, in my opinion, so You got to take those green arrows in a week like this and enjoy them. And Sari says 29 minus 4, 25 points with Bruno captain, Robinson and Gabriel left. Yeah, it's a decent number of points, but with only 3 players left. Of course, Bruno is captain, so you technically have 4 if you look at all these websites and how they calculate things. It's not terrible. It could kind of be around the average, basically, but you'd need Bruno to do something, in my opinion. Saved by a Strand of Larson. Yes, a brace there from Strand Larson. I put a poll out which included him on my channel, and a lot of people were like, mate, Strand Larson's terrible. Why are you putting him? Well, he's facing Southampton. That's kind of the recipe for potential success. But I didn't go for Strand Larson myself, so I can't even really celebrate. I usually pick the cheapest defender option in FPL if I can, but I convinced myself to spend the extra 0.5 million on Milenkovic over Nico Williams. Yeah, and I did say this in my deadline stream earlier. If money is no issue, my recommendation is Milenkovic because of the attacking threat. I think he's got now 7 big chances for the season, an XG figure of over 3, and those stats will eventually pay off. And Southampton do struggle a lot from crosses and set pieces, and Milenkovic did seem not destined to do well, but he had a better chance than Nico Williams, for example. That's partly because I haven't made any future transfer plans and hence didn't have any set budget in mind to keep, says Aranya. That's good though. You had a decent thought process there, made the right decision. I still think Williams offers great value, but Milenkovic has more attacking threat. Who will you play, Sells or Alisson, next week? It's actually a close one, but I would favour Alisson Becker. Steven says, Dylan, you're an absolute legend for the Milenkovic shout, but I unfortunately benched Bellegarde and went Evanilson over Strand Larson. I do prefer Evanilson over Strand Larson long term, but yeah, for this week, of course, great fixture for him, and he obviously capitalised on it. Bellegarde, yeah, I wasn't too keen on him in the deadline stream, but he got 2 assists, 11 points in the end, so for those that actually started him or just have him in their team, yeah, that was obviously a great pick. I'm not too keen on him long term though, but for Gameweek 29, you're kind of interested in the points right now, which is something I severely lack. And yeah, Bellegarde did the business, and I was probably wrong about that, to be fair. Let's put a goal out, see if we can get close to it, but I appreciate those tuning in. Be sure to like and all that good stuff, and thank you to those that have done so already. It is massively appreciated. I do promise you that. So let's put this on and enjoy this reaction stream. It should be hopefully a bit calmer compared to a hectic deadline stream, and there will be none of these lives for a couple of weeks now. And then once we get to April, UCL Fantasy and FPL deadline streams and stuff like that, that is the target. So let's put this up on board. Yeah, we'll see how long we roll. But yeah, we typically, you know, go on quite long, even though I say, yeah, it's going to be a quick one. Ends up being a bit longer than expected. But there you go. Let's go to your questions and whiz through them. A lot of the graphics I did show in the deadline stream, and there will be more for Gameweek 30 in a couple of weeks' time. Chess Econ says, I got Manetzi, who unfortunately blanked, but from the highlights looked like he was picking up great positions, and I'm optimistic. Yeah, he would have been my pick from the Wolves midfielders. When I was asked earlier, I think the options were Sarabia, Manetzi, and Bellegarde. Because Manetzi just came back from a slight doubt, and Vitor Pereira's comments were something along the lines of, he's got a chance or he's set to be involved. But the way he phrased it made me think he might be on the bench. So I suggested Bellegarde instead. But that's only the real reason why. I would have just said Manetzi anyway. He's been showing a bit of form recently with goals as well as assists. But yeah, it was worth it for the punt this week. I'm not too sure if these Wolves assets, including Bellegarde, will offer that consistency long term. But maybe I'm wrong again, to be fair. Who would you bench, Nuri or Mazraoui next week? I'd bench Mazraoui. I think Forest have a great chance of getting a return. I disagree, Free Ronan, but enjoy the points, of course. Aranya says 35 minus 8 with Bruno, Palmer, Colwill, and Raya to go. Nicely done. Yeah, you bought Haaland as well, didn't you? So yeah, that was a good play. Milenkovic was on a 17-pointer before Ipswich scored, but still satisfied. 56 minus 4 with Bruno and Gabriel left. Yeah, that's still really strong. The two twins, apparently. City is finished, Rodgers is finished. Yeah, we'll wait and see how that turns out until the end of the season, but really good score. Just Edison in on the free hit, still got a few to play tomorrow. Looking forward to the Arsenal-Chelsea game, got Wanyeri in. That was another player I was considering to buy alongside Haaland, but I'm not too keen on Wanyeri long-term. Ultimately, you're saying you're on the free hit, so it's really irrelevant. That's absolutely fine. I think Wanyeri can do something against Chelsea tomorrow, and hopefully he does. Took a gamble with Strand Larsen for free and avoided a -8 for Haaland, captain and Boomer. Not too shabby. A decent captaincy return, only 1 point off Haaland. A lot of people would have captained him in terms of those on Twitter and YouTube. And yeah, going for Strand Larsen, saving a -8 hit, really well played. Before Saka's injury, I was getting a streak of green arrows, 9 in a row now. I've had 6 out of 9 red arrows from Game Week 20. Yeah, sometimes that player maybe would have been like the sweet spot for you. In my case, I've actually not been great with Saka this season, both in UCL Fantasy and FPL. I've got on the wrong time and sold at the wrong time and stuff like that due to injuries and other factors. But yeah, we all have that sort of player or two who we can really rely on all season. And I think Saka is one of those players for most people. But yeah, I've just been, I think, pretty poor my timing on a lot of occasions. Super lucky with Marmoush, but would captain overall, Green Arrow. Yeah, Green Arrow, despite the captaincy blank, very well played. Yeah, I'm surprised by Chris Wood. Forrest scored 4 goals and he didn't get a single assist at least. It's very surprising. Last minute decision to do Semenyo in instead of Alanga. I feel your pain, Dylan. Yeah. In my case, it's more of like buying Erling Haaland and selling Palmer. That's what kind of made me decide, you know what, I'd rather just keep Palmer instead of doing all this hassle and also add Bruno Fernandes to my ranks. But yeah, it would have been great, of course. I just don't see Palmer getting anywhere near that tomorrow. And hopefully I'm still correct, even though that would help me FPL-wise. Palmer is so off form at this point. He's an auto sell. Yes, he is really off form. I don't deny that. I still don't think he's an auto sell, especially against Tottenham next week. But then again, he had easier fixtures on paper just recently, and he blanked them both. Yeah, obviously there are some high scores flying around. Looks like some people want to see them. Captain Wood, what a flop. At least my other free transfer, Milenkovic, worked. Nicely done. Took a last-minute hit of Rodgers to Bruno, as well ready for tomorrow. I'm not really ready for tomorrow, but I do expect me to go up from where I am now. Enough to get a green arrow, no. But in your situation, at least you got Milenkovic and a big haul there from a relative differential. That's obviously a very decent entry point and start to the week. I'm really relying on Fernandes. Yeah, exactly that. Semenyo, 3 consecutive yellow cards, and now he's on 9. You got to be careful with that 10th booking, otherwise he is suspended for 2 matches. Which teams to target for the next 2 weeks only? Planning wildcard in 32. Well, that's probably a good segue to show you different screens and stuff. So let's go to the FDR. So Brighton are top for the next 6 game weeks. Southampton, Forest, Bournemouth and Arsenal complete the top 5. I'll show you those near the bottom in the deadline stream in a couple of weeks' time. And now we will look at those teams for the next 2 game weeks only. Maybe for some people looking to wildcard in 32. So those near the top include Wolves, Bournemouth, Newcastle, Palace, Man City, Spurs, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea. Southampton complete that top 10. The teams I would prioritise. Yeah, I do like that Southampton fixture for Spurs, but Chelsea away, they have struggled against them recently. Yeah, it's still going to be Crystal Palace for me, Newcastle, Liverpool, and I'd say Man City. Those are the teams you really want to hone in on for me. I'm not that bullish on Wolves in general. Matheus Cunha is my favourite asset. He's obviously banned for those games. Strand Larsen, he's okay. Of course, did really well today. I don't back him to do that in the next couple. And then Manetzi, Bellegarde is even worse there. I don't think they're as viable as Strand Larsen would be. 8 Nuri, he's got a bit of attacking threat. Jose Sarr ticks a few boxes. He featured in Blank Gameweek 29, features in Blank Gameweek 34, and decent fixtures in that time frame. But I'm not that keen on Wolves, so it would be those teams instead. Bournemouth are alright, I think. Having Kirkes, Evanilson, and Kluivert, that's my favourite trio. So that's kind of what I'd be aiming to do. Newcastle, though, would be the priority, especially with a double in 32, although in your case, that's not too relevant. As for predicted points, for Game Week 30, Salah is top with 8.5, Haaland is second, and we've got Isak, Palmer, Semenyo, Odegaard, Savio, Kluivert, Chris Wood, Szoboszlai. Some interesting names in that top 10. Some I don't agree with, like Szoboszlai, but there we go. Maybe he gets a goal on bonus points there. With the assistant manager, and I believe that's based on Game Week 29, and as you can see, McKenna did flop, actually, despite being top of these predicted points. So, Guardiola is top, facing Leicester at home. Amram is second, Slot, Iriola, and Arteta in the top 5. It seems like Arteta's always here, but hasn't been great recently. Now, if we're looking at a 3 game week period, and you're looking to activate it now, Eddie Howe, Glasner, Guardiola, Slot, and Amram is the top 5 according to Fantasy Football Hub. Yeah, the priority for me would be Howe or Glasner. Glasner would be number 1 for me, especially around Game Week 32. And if not, and you've got other chips to play, and you want to use them in 33 and 34, then I would use the AM around Game Week 35. With projected price changes, we could see quite a few. That includes Marmush, Strand Larson, Pickford, Visser. Interesting stuff. 3 of them obviously returned big today. The likes of Rashford, Ndai, Diaz, Hall, Szoboszlai, Fabianski, Cher, and Kelleher could go down in price. If we actually check quickly, live fpl.net, they're saying Marmush, Bowen, Strand Larson, and Pickford will go up. And a lot of price falls, they're saying. That includes Tell, Samari, and some other players not mentioned just now. Hughes, Konsa, McAteer, Emerson, Wilson, Jones. Jaros. I don't know why he's going to go down in price tonight, but there you go. Calvert-Lewin, Kelleher, Burns, Mangala, McNeil, Steele, and Ward. Maybe not all of them will happen, but a fair few should change in price tonight. Now let's look at the captaincy. This might surprise you, but Chris Wood was the most captain in the top 100k. Haaland was second, only just behind. Bruno Fernandes is third. That's the one I've captained. I've gone very rogue this week, and it hasn't paid off so far. I'm really hoping the likes of Fernandes, Gabriel, maybe Palmer can save me tomorrow. But yeah, Bruno Fernandes is the key for me. Salah is 4th, but obviously vice captaincy comes into play. And Cliver is 5th. So maybe a few dead teams in the top 100k. Well, fair enough. Or maybe they're on vacation or something, or they forgot to do their team. LiveFPL.net, let's go to fpl.team now. This is a sneak preview of my Game Week 30 squad. So my plan at the moment is to buy a Crystal Palace asset, and it makes a lot of sense in my case to buy a defender, and Daniel Munoz is a no-brainer here. He would replace Veltman, and my defensive line would be Sells in goal, Colwill, Munoz, Gabriel, a midfield 5 of Mbumo, Cliver, Palmer, Salah, and maybe Bruno Fernandes, Isak and Wood up front, and the bench has Valdimarsson, Ivanilson, Robinson and Mikalenko. One of the problems with my transfers today, apart from the lack of points, which is obviously a key one, is the fact that for Game Week 30, I've got a major benching dilemma. The key ones I'm looking to bench are Mbumo, Fernandes, and Ivanilson. And right now I'm going for Ivanilson on the bench. Maybe that's a mistake. We'll wait and see. I don't need to worry about that for a couple of weeks anyway, but that is a sneak preview of my Game Week 30 setup. And FPL Challenge isn't going that great either. I sold Milenkovic to Dallo in the last couple of minutes, basically, before wrapping up in my deadline stream. So I lost down a lot of points there. Clivert blanked, 8 Nuri, Sells, Wood, all blanked, Haaland captain, okay, and I've got Fernandes and Dallo tomorrow. So yeah, it's still doing better than my FPL team. And the reason why it says 21 points in the graphics on the left is because Erling Haaland gets a bonus point. That'll mean 2 extra points as my captain. So instead of 19, I'll get 21. 21. So there you go. Let's go back to my FPL squad. And yeah, it's unfortunately even worse than my FPL challenge squad, which is saying something. Point swings this game week was something else. Yeah. I thought it would have been maybe not as swingy, but there you go. I got it wrong. No way, mate. I would not unsubscribe. Watching your content for years. Keep going. Don't know why, but something doesn't work to become a member. No worries about that, Callum, but I do appreciate that. I'm obviously just saying that in jest. But some people do take it to heart. Some people actually copy. And then when it goes wrong, they're like, I don't watch football. It's like, I relied on you and you let me down. I'm going to, I don't know, whatever they want to say. It's kind of funny when I see it. Jay says, I bought in Haaland, Kirkes and Milenkovic this week. You could say that it's been a success. Transfers-wise, yeah, definitely. And even with Kirkes 4 points, I like him a lot for the rest of the season. Very good acquisition. Lads, Bournemouth play Ipswich. Redemption arc for Bournemouth attackers incoming. Hopefully not Semenya, but he probably will do something there. He has to at some point. Update, the 5 at the back absolutely stinks. Never again. Yeah, no clean sheets today. I'm really hoping Robinson can somehow get one. Gabriel, but then that means Palmer blanks. Yeah, conundrums. Pieter says 40 points, Bruno captain and Palmer to go. Decent. Very decent indeed. No Haaland, no Wood, no problem. Use one free transfer to switch Trent to Gavardio, but we don't talk about it. Still looks good for Game Week 30 though. Afterwards, I'm not that keen on Gavardio. I do prefer Gabriel, for example, but horses for courses, different options, and his attacking threat always makes him appealing. Jason Phillip puts his squad, 2 free transfers in hand and 0.1 million in the bank. Best playing 11 for Game Week 30. Yeah, Dean Henderson for me. I would also go for Gavardio, Gabriel, and Kirkes, I think. Yeah, benching a Forest defender and also Sells. There is a temptation to start one of them maybe, but I'd stick with that for now. Midfield, yeah, Sarr, Salah, Palmer, Cliver, Mbumo. Yeah, and then Isak Wood up front. I'd bench Visser, despite his recent good form. That could be a mistake, and there's always that kind of conundrum. Do I bench Mbumo or Visser? I'd probably bench Visser here. But overall, very solid. 2 transfers in hand. You could maybe do Visser to Mateta and then bench Mbumo, or sell one of your defenders, which, to be honest, isn't necessary. You've got a decent defensive line, and buy Munoz because he's just a great option for the next 3 game weeks now. My opponent in the head-to-head league has 1 point without setting up their team. Yeah, there's some people in my mini league, thankfully, who basically just didn't do anything. So they captain Salah and vice-captain Isak. So there are people out there somehow doing worse. So, I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it or reassure myself and copium and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm just going to try to look at the positive side. Otherwise, yeah, I'm just going to be pissed off. 22 points with Colwell, Gabriel, and Enzo. Yeah, hopefully it goes well for you tomorrow. But yeah, they are all facing each other. At least one of them will probably blank, if we're being honest. Hopefully Gabriel gets a bullet header and we can enjoy some points. I'm never buying Everton players ever again. Yeah, I bought in Dye. He did okay for me, then got injured shortly afterwards. Mikalenko's been terrible. 1 clean sheet against Leicester, and that's about it. He's been an awful asset for me. Game over. Decided to go against Wood and went for Cliver, doing that just to get the same points. Well, it's not like you went against Haaland. Well, you technically did, but yeah, I mean, if you would have gone for Wood anyway and then go for Kluivert, you haven't gained any points, but you haven't lost any. Looking at the bright side. I'm on a monumental red, 100k. Almost tripled my rank to 610k since Game Week 16. Horrible season. I agree. I'm in a similar boat, 100k red arrow so far. If you've got 5 or 6 players left tomorrow, though, there is still a little bit of hope. Maybe not for a green, but to claw back the deficit a little bit. Joao Pedro and Mitoma will go on a blanking streak of 8 games. Yeah, they can be frustrating, especially Joao Pedro. But let's not forget, they are cheap assets. I mean, Pedro costs 5.6 million now, doesn't he? He's on penalties. He's a troll, but you know what you get when you sign up for him. Marmoush and Visser both scored, and Williams got 1 point. Yes. Visser was one of the only captaincy shouts I provided who really did well. He's going to get, I think, 2 bonus points, so he's on 8 overall. I think the other ones that did well would have been Mbumo and Bowen. They all got an assist at least and something on the board. Bowen was unlucky not to get more than the 6-pointer. Terrible -4 for Aina, turned bad. Yeah, look, I got a lot of things wrong today in terms of recommendations and stuff. There were some things I did get right, though, and one of them was to say Milenkovic is my favourite Forest defender, and I don't think Aina's really worth the extra millions. He's still a good option, though, and I don't think he's a sell. But yeah, I was quite bullish on Milenkovic, and I should have stuck with him in my FPL challenge team. That was a mistake. 27 -8 with 4 to play. Yeah, it's obviously better than what I'm doing. It's not too shabby. I think there's hope for a green arrow still. What is the best chip strategy in your opinion? I have wildcard free and bench boost. It's ultimately team dependent, Hassan. I'm not saying it to sit on the fence. It generally does depend on those factors. But one thing I'm considering for my team, and I've got the same chips as you available, is to free hit in 33, wildcard in 35, and set up the bench boost for 36. That's one possible set of, plans there for the chip strategy. Another one would be to wildcard in 30 or 31, bench boost in 33, and free in 34. But yeah, I think it's a domino effect. Once you decide to wildcard in 30 or 31, the others kind of fall into place. If you decide to wildcard later, that changes things slightly, and you might bench boost in 36 instead. 39k to 60k hurts a lot. What do you think the week ends at? I'm assuming a drop to 80k. Wood captain was abysmal. I don't know the rest of your players, which makes it difficult to judge. But I think you'll remain in the top 100k. Maybe that's not a lot of, solace or it's not something reassuring, but it's still better than most people in the game. And yeah, it's where I'm aiming to be by the end of the season, actually. Please rate my wildcard team: Kepa, Areola, Gvardiol, Agbadu, Munoz, Kanate, Nico, Williams, Salah, Sarr, Clivert, Murphy, Gibbs, White, Haaland, Mateta, Isak. Leaves me enough to go with Howe in 31. Yeah, it's a good wildcard team. I have some issues with it personally. For example, I would rather cover Bournemouth defensively with Kirkes or Howson than Kepa Arrizabalaga, who had a pretty poor game today, in my opinion. In terms of goalkeepers, my favourites would include Sells, Dean Henderson, Jose Sarr just for the boxes he ticks. Maybe he can replace Areola in your case. You've got Agbadu, I get it, but yeah, I'd maybe tweak one or two things in your defensive line. I'd personally recommend Gabriel, but that's just me. Yeah, Milenkovic over Nico, if money is no issue, is something I'd advise, but it's not absolutely necessary, and I don't see a big difference between both of them in Game Week 30, for example, like we saw today. The midfield is absolutely fine. Murphy obviously is there for Game Week 32, I get it. Yeah, it's a good squad overall, but I'd maybe tweak a few things in that defense and the goalkeeper more than anything else. Dreading Bruno tomorrow. I wouldn't dread him too much, mate, with the players you've got. Well, especially with the points you've got. And Brian Gabriel, yeah, clean sheet would be gold for you from Arsenal, actually. Do you think Anderson gets anything more than 2 points? Well, could Fulham keep a clean sheet against Tottenham? I think they can. He has scored a few own goals recently and stuff like that, so the form isn't there. I've gone for 2-1 Fulham, so if I'm being realistic, I don't think he'll get more than 2 points, but hopefully he does, and Robertson can also get a clean sheet and some bonus. Alanga, Bellegar, Tavernier, Murphy, Minter, Rutter, Enzo, Soucek, who to get for Dango for the next 2 weeks only. My preference is Murphy. Yeah, from those players, it's going to be Murphy, simply for the double in 32. Aranya says, is it too risky to go about Salah next game week? I know it's Salah, but the Merseyside derby is always tight, and Everton don't really ship a lot of goals. Yeah, but Salah, look what he did in game week 24 against Everton. And even last season, when Everton kept things tight, I think it was a 2-0 win for Liverpool in the end. Salah once again with the goods. I'd still back Salah to do well. Can you go against him for the captaincy? Absolutely. But in terms of not going with him in your team, it's a risk. Can you do well? Yes, but it's going to be difficult. Like it was for me without Haaland, albeit that's not the main reason why I've performed badly so far. I got 38 points, 4 to play, no chip or transfer made. Thank you, JSL. Nice. Yeah, Strand Larsen, mega differential. His form was terrible, by the way. Absolutely terrible. But Southampton is always a great fixture for attackers. Hoping for a 0-0 for Arsenal-Chelsea. Well, even though that benefits me to a certain degree of FPL, nah, I hope Arsenal win. And yeah, 3-0 Arsenal, 5-0 Arsenal again. Yeah, that's my dream. I've gone for 3-1 though. It might be slightly tougher than that, to be fair. Welcome, Twisted Parky. The Strand Larsen disrespect this week was insane. Love seeing him hit back at the managers, says Crown. Bowen, differential actually working 3 game week straight, but kind of low on points. Yeah, they're not massive returns, but Bowen has never been that sort of player who typically gets like a massive haul. But what he can do is churn out 5 to 9 points quite consistently. Not a bonus points machine at times, but he just gets the job done. So far, Elanga and Haaland have worked out. Yeah, don't remind me. I was so close to buying them. Burn or Livramento, who is better? Difficult to say. I mean, Livramento would have a bit more attacking threat. Both of them should start virtually every single game now for Newcastle. Maybe a slight preference for Livramento. 59 points for Robinson, Palmer and Fernandes to go. Yeah, you're well set. Is Mateta expected to be back against Southampton away? Yes. The plan, according to Oliver Glasner, is to have him available for the FA Cup quarterfinals by the end of the month. So yeah, in time for early April in Game Week 30, he should be in contention to start. Do they maybe give him a rest, or are his minutes reduced? Possibly, but I think he'll start. Also, the Mbumo-Vissa combo done all right. Yeah, 6 points from Mbumo, 8 from Vissa. It's one of the best duos in the Prem, especially from an FPL perspective. There's a lot of questions coming in comments. I do appreciate it. I'll get through them. But yeah, let's keep on plugging away at all the likes and stuff like that. It would be greatly appreciated. Let's be honest, Haaland did bugger all outside of the penalty. Yeah, exactly that. Haaland captains, including me, lucky so far. Yeah, I hope Fernandes can somewhat give me a saving grace, a silver lining. If he can outscore Haaland, that'd be amazing. But yeah, just not buying Elanga, man. It really stings because it's a low-owned player, massive differential. I could have benched him easily next week and just started a solid midfield 5. But yeah, maybe Fernandes will make me feel better about my decision. Haaland doesn't pass the eye test at all. In fact, I like Marmoush way more. That goal by Marmoush, by the way, he scored a similar goal against Newcastle. It's a brilliant finish. He just loves those outside of the box shots. Very impressive, I agree. Munoz predicted to rise in price tomorrow. Might bring him in today and leave the team. Wanted to roll, but away versus Southampton. I know I'll be punished. Yeah, in my case, I'd be selling Veltman. So, as much as I recommend to most people, don't chase value and stuff like this. You know, try to make, you know, informed decisions and wait until the deadline if possible. I might do something similar to you, mate, and just do Veltman to Munoz and leave my team. If I need to take a hit, so be it. Maybe I'll just wildcard in Gameweek 30 anyway. Twisted Parky says, your advice is sound, has not worked out for you quite this year, but you justify your ideas. Is 70% about luck in this game? Yeah, I agree. I mean, in terms of percentages for luck versus skill, I mean, that's very subjective, of course, but there is an element of skill, no doubt about it. But I do think luck obviously presides over a lot of things, especially when it comes to 50-50 calls, and maybe you have good reasoning for a certain decision or transfer, maybe captaincy option, and it ends up falling flat on its ass, like it did for me so far. Joe says, I was so close to bringing in Elanga and Milenkovic, but I bought Semenyo and 8 Nuri instead. Somehow still managed to end up with a green arrow. That's the most important thing. At least you still got that green. But yeah, it's a case of what could have been. Was scared of not owning Wood because I didn't want to sell Mateta. Now it's looking tasty for next game week. Yeah. Now, could Chris Wood score against Man United? Absolutely. But so could Mateta against the worst team in the league. Papa Emeritus says, hey Dylan. Hopefully, anyway, my team, Kepa, Fabianski, Mikalenko, Gavardio, Gabriel, Howard Bellis, Hall, Trossard, Semenyo, and Bumo, Dango, Salah, Vissa, Haaland, Isak, wildcard or no? Yeah, front line is absolutely fine. You know, maybe you do Vissa to Mateta if you can. With the midfield, yeah, Dango and Trossard I'm not too keen on. Even Semenyo I'm not a huge fan of, but I'd probably keep him against Ipswich. With your defence, yeah, Gabriel, Gavardio look really good, but that third defender, that's the problem. So, if you got, let's say, 2 or 3 transfers, I think you could afford to save the wild card for later in the season, which could be 31, if not for Game Week 35, depending on your chip strategy. But it doesn't scream to me like it's a must wild card, unless you've only got 1 free transfer and you're feeling a kind of sensation where I want to sell a lot of these players. Like, let's say, Kepa, who I'm not a big fan of, to be honest. You want to get rid of Fabianski, bolster that backup goalkeeper, maybe. Also sell Mikalenko, Harwood Bellis, Hall, Dango, Semenyo, Trossard, and Vissa. If that's how you're feeling, I'd wildcard. But with 2 or 3 transfers, I think you can build a very strong Game Week 30 team without the chip. Would you bring in Munoz for Colwill as a 1-week punt before wildcarding, or just roll the transfer? Yeah, I would. I definitely would. And you'd probably want Munoz anyway for Game Week 32. If this will be the worst point for you if Bruno and Palmer blank as well as Gabriel, Cole, Robertson clean sheet wipeout, maybe. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. I can't really say how am I going to feel if this happens. I'm going to try to think positive, otherwise there's really no point. I'm not going to enjoy the game and I might as well log off and retire. Mateta in for Wood next. Yeah, I do like that transfer for the next 3 game weeks. From my perspective, I'm looking at Ivanosen out. He was always a short-term punt for me. It hasn't worked out yet, but hopefully he can do something if I start him against Ipswich Town. In Bumo, Bruno, Vissa, Wood, anyone worth selling for the next 2 weeks with wildcard in 32? Yeah, Vissa. As good as he's been, I think he is sellable right now. And you can trim down that Brentford offensive double up a little bit. But they have been in great form. Like I mentioned earlier in the stream, 5 consecutive away wins in the Premier League. So they are showing a lot of consistency on their travels. Goldhead says, I've never been so desperate for a wild card. Issue is I have no idea when the best time for it is. We'll wait for chip strategy videos. I have made a couple of trip strategy videos some time ago. Maybe there will be one during this international break if it is highly requested. But yeah, I'll wait and see if the community want to see that first and foremost. But that could obviously be very helpful to you. I get it. I just don't think there is a clear strategy that works for everyone. I think it does depend a lot on team circumstances. And yeah, some people might have a really strong team for the next 2 game weeks and they can afford to wildcard in 35 instead. My team next week: Pickford, Munoz, Gabriel, Howson, Mbumo, Kluivert, Salah, Elanga, Isak, Wood, Haaland, bench Valdimarsson, Dango, Robinson, Mikalenko. I like it. Despite Elanga's big return today, he is benchable against United, in my opinion, but maybe he'll continue this form. Would 22 points be a green arrow? I don't think so, but it depends on your rank. So if you're maybe outside the top million and something like that, it is possible to get a small green arrow, but I'd probably say no. I think you're looking at close to 30 points for a green. I keep putting Dango instead of Dando. I still understood what you meant, so don't worry. Behind 30 points in mini league, should I avoid players like Kluivert, Kirkes, Sarr, etc., who are my rival team? If possible, yes, but if you feel these players are great acquisitions for you and you're going to force yourself to other players for the sake of it, I'm not a big fan of that sort of thing. You can still find differentials elsewhere. This week I was trying to keep a small red arrow, but I managed to gain a 2k green arrow. Yeah. Keep your expectations low and be pleasantly surprised, I guess. Yeah, looks good. Please rate my wildcard team. Yeah, I did cover that earlier, mate. Yeah, I covered it earlier. 22 points only. Whoever's in my team will just blank. Is cursed for more than a month. Never say never, Waysing. Hi, Dylan. Would you start Bellegarde or Rodgers next game week? That's a difficult one. I'd still lean towards Rodgers, but it's close. Is this Wood regression back to the mean? Yeah, he has blanked quite a few times now in a row. It is Man United next, though, so he'll probably score. So I'll give him a bit of time still. I think he'll still get a couple of goals from now until the end of the season. But yeah, in the next campaign, I do expect a drop-off for sure. Milenkovic scoring goals like a striker, an underrated player. Yeah, he's a good centre-back, to be fair. 39 points with Palmer and Gabriel to go. Not sure if it's a good score or bad. I think it's decent. Yeah, Bruno captain tomorrow. Dylan, wish me luck. Well, it's in my best interest as well. I've got Bruno captain too. Yeah, not a bad point at all, says Pieter. Music Kiwi says 35 with -4. 6 bonus points to come. Is that good? Yeah, once again, I think anything above 30 is probably decent at this stage. But let's say, for example, you've got... Well, so you said 6 bonus points to come. So you've got 37 points with the -4 hit taken into account, and you've got 2 players left. It might be a tightrope between a green and a red arrow, but yeah, it'll be better than most, I think. Dylan, do you like UCL Fantasy or FPL more? I've always said I like UCL Fantasy more. For one, I typically do better in that game. 2, I think the most important thing is the fact that we've got more variation. The template isn't that strong. I know this season for FPL, for its faults and the things I don't like about it, I do think there is a bit more variation, especially with chip strategy. But yeah, UCL Fantasy is my preference for sure. And this is my worst season in that as well, by the way, but I'm still in a much higher rank there than I am in FPL. Munoz or Mateta for Game Week 30? Well, I'm prioritizing Munoz, actually. It also depends on your situation. Do you have Robinson, Mikalenko, and players you're not really too fond of to start in Game Week 30? Because maybe you've got a strong midfield and forward line regardless without Mateta. So from that perspective, I'd suggest Munoz to a lot of people, and that's my current plan. Strand Larsen to the rescue, good man, says Andrew Barton. And another Strand Larsen prop. Man, Strand Larsen was way better than Evanilson. I went for Evanilson. Yeah. I think with Evanilson, my main issue with the transfer itself is just kind of going sideways from Semenyo to Evanilson. Even though it hasn't really backfired necessarily, it just seems way too sideways for me. Quanza 3.9 million, Liverpool be guaranteed player for the next 4 weeks, at least a good punt and saves money. Possibly. I do expect them to start right back. We'll see tomorrow how Liverpool line up, but there are still other variations that they could do. They could play a midfielder in the right back position at times, but yeah, I think Quanza will start on the right. I'm going to name my kids after Strand Larsen. I wouldn't go that far, mate. It's just a 1 game week in FPL. 5-point red, Timber, Wanyeri, Robinson and Palmer left. Let's see. I'd be quietly confident in your case. I think it's possible. Bruno Fernandes is the one to really look out for, though. That could be your main obstacle tomorrow. Andrew Barnes says, just need Fernandes to do something tomorrow for my captaincy. Same here. Why 2 weeks later I have no Premier League as well? I thought the international break is just next week. Well, there is FA Cup as well, mate. That's why. And we could hopefully get some more clarification on, well, we will on the teams blanking in 34, but maybe in terms of the fixtures falling in place for Game Week 33 and having more of a understanding of the future doubles and blanks. It can't be that lucky if Price and Harry, yeah, that says Kirill. I have Marmoush in my team and happy about points, but should have more. But Savinho shooting isn't the best. That one shot just landed here in Finland. Yeah, Savio missed 2 big chances today. He can be very frustrating at times, to be honest. Did you hear about the murmurings regarding Ahmad's return? Thoughts on going for him over someone like Rodgers on Wildcard? I didn't hear the murmurings of him returning that soon, but Amrim did point towards him possibly returning earlier. So, yeah. I mean, that could definitely be something to look at, but just wait for official sources to confirm first, I think. Just give me a second. All right. So yeah, let's get the likes up of this video. Our aim will be 200 plus ultimately, and that would be greatly appreciated. Joseph says, an international break is always nicer going into it with a green arrow, not so pleasant when it's a red. Yeah, that will be my situation, to be fair. Look forward, no regrets. Yeah, exactly that, Frankie. Sam says 44 points with Timber, Robinson and Bruno to go. Now got 1 free transfer. Hall to Munoz. Today or wait and go Wood to Mateta. I'd probably keep Wood for now, but I get the temptation to go Mateta. Lewis Hall to Munoz. I'd only do it if you're at risk of being priced out. Otherwise, my advice is always to wait for more information. There's international break, there's FA Cup matches, you could get injuries. And even tomorrow, there could be suspensions, so be very careful with that. Sandri says, not FPL related, but did you see F1 quali today? Only the highlights because, yeah, it's at 6 AM, I think, or 5 AM UK time in Melbourne. McLaren is a rocket ship, but as Verstappen fans, Dylan, let's go. Yeah, like he's my favourite driver right now, alongside Alonso. Like, I don't mind if he wins the championship, and I think he's got it tough this year. He'll probably finish 2nd or 3rd in the standings, but I also don't want him breaking Schumacher's record, so I'm kind of conflicted about it. But my actual favourite constructor is Ferrari, because of the pedigree, the history, the Schumacher links as well. But yeah, I saw the F1 qualifying, yeah, and I built a team for F1 Fantasy, and it's going fairly well so far. If only I could translate those points to FPL. Thoughts on Visser to Mateta and Trent to Munoz? Yeah, I'm on board with both of them. Really good moves. Twisted Parky says, I am super lucky Trent got injured. Elanga was the plan, but then price changes would mean could not get Munoz in 30, so I was going to go Callum Hudson-Odoi instead, but Trent injury allowed me the cash I needed. Sometimes you need that stroke of luck, or one decision affects another, and it's a domino effect, but ultimately it's a good decision, good outcome, element of skill and luck involved, but you got to take it and enjoy the points. It's unfortunate for him, and I don't wish on anybody, says Twisted Parky. Yeah, well, he could be out for most of the season. We'll see how it goes. Hi, Dylan. Would you go Trent to Munoz now or wait if Trent should be back for Game Week 30? I'd probably wait, but as Goldhead mentioned earlier, it looks like Munoz could go up in price tomorrow. Bonus points in. Yeah, I need every point I can get, so let's show you the updated bonus point for Bimbuma. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, Mikalenko, obviously no clean sheet. Soucek scored the opening goal there. Sells 2 late goals conceded, 1 point, disgusting. Cliver and Ivanoson both blanking. Could have been a bit more from those two. But yeah, on paper, that team never looked great this week. Chris Wood, big disappointment, but thankfully I didn't captain him. In the last few seconds of the deadline stream, I bought Bruno Fernandes and captained him. Let's see if he can salvage something for me. Start Elanga or Semenyo? I'd still prefer Semenyo here, based on the fixture, but it is close. Would you remove Wood and Waneri for Mateta and Sarr? I'm not that keen on Sarr, but it is an upgrade on Waneri long term, so the answer is yes. Chris Wood is always a bit tough to sell, but I think that could still be decent. I hope Forest don't bench Wood against United. I don't think they will. I was so happy when Dango came on for his 1-pointer. Yeah, if that's the difference between a 0 1-pointer having, I don't know, well, just him getting 0 points for you, no one coming on, then yeah, you've got to take all the help you can get in a week like this. Mark Payne says 47 points so far this week, no idea what to do for Game Week 30. Luckily for you, you've got a few weeks left until you have to make decisions, but I think the plan for a lot of people is to kind of bolster your Palace and Newcastle assets, particularly Palace, in my opinion, facing Southampton away. For me personally, it's getting my Mateta or Marmoush or Munoz. I am favouring the Colombian right now. My defensive line is very poor. Yeah, same for me. I love UCL Fantasy. Also, as is based on the biggest games, also being able to back some of the best players in the world. I love all your UCL content deadline streams. I'm glad to hear it. And yeah, that is a good point. You've got more quality, especially in the forward line. You know, last season, for example, in FPL, we were struggling for forwards. You never get that in UCL Fantasy. And you've got a lot of 50-50 calls there, a lot of luck involved, but it is fun, of course, especially when you get it right. Easy says, so FPL managers who has the highest points this week right now have Milenkovic, Bellegarde, Elanga, Strand Larsen, Marmoush, captain, and Haaland as most. There's probably someone out there with that sort of thing, but some of those people would have like a second team and just trying to chase that first in the game week leaderboard thing. I was forced to take a free hit this week. 6 players didn't play. Yeah, that's what I mean. For some people, it made sense to free hit. I'm not going to belittle the decision. Everyone's situation is different. That's why I'm trying to be open-minded and not, you know, very closed about how people approach certain things. I told a friend in my mini league to go Varnoson over Strand Larsen, although I thought he could score today. I just felt over the long term of Varnoson better. Yeah, so do I. But if I do wildcard in 30-31, then it's kind of redundant anyway. But yeah, I think that's very important. If Varnoson had 0.5 XGI today, was there a poor performance or hard luck? From what I've seen of the game, there was one chance where the ball was crossed into him. He was at the far post and he just didn't get good contact on it. He should have done better though. I'd say a bit of both. I think more of a poor performance actually. But he was in good form since his return from injury, scoring against Wolves and Spurs with pretty decent performances on the whole. Bradley is fit very soon, would not rely on Quansah. Yeah, I think that's a good point, Frankie. Quansah's just really like maybe a gimmick 30 punt, if that. We'll see how long that lasts. In a couple of weeks, I am going to be looking at Saka for my wildcard. Yeah, that could be a difference maker, and maybe I have to go in that sort of direction to push up the ranks, really. Looking better for next game week. That's good. Mikel, good luck there. Iriola, a good manager, but I felt he took way too long to bring on attackers, not just because of Dango owner. Look, he's a good manager. He's having a great season, but there is an element of, you know, Bournemouth obviously punching way above their weight. He deserves a lot of credit. He should be in the top 3-5 managers of the season. But when people say, for example, he's better than Arteta and stuff like this, I'm like, come on, let's calm down a little bit. Best family in mid, Dylan was considering Soucek. Yeah, it would have been Wanyeri before for me, but with Saka available soon, I think Wanyeri could be benched more often than not after this international break. So, yeah, Soucek, he'll score a goal from time to time. Could be quite appealing for double gimmick 33 actually, but my favourite would be Murphy. Doubles in 32. Trent on the bench, swap for Munoz or Gabriel, or swap Wood for Mateta. If I'm buying one now, it would be Munoz, and I'm also aiming to buy him as well. Pieter says there were rumours yesterday that Ahmad is back in the team training beginning of the next month if everything goes well. Don't pick him too early. I think that's perfectly summarised, and it's a similar situation with Saka. Hopefully both of them return very soon. Peter Griffiths says, I'm 150k and only 45 points ahead of you, Dylan, so there's a top 50k finish still possible with chips in hand for you, I think. Yeah, well, I appreciate the assurance. I definitely need it. Yeah, look, it's still possible to go on a streak, and I was doing okay recently until today, obviously. But yeah, I've got to be very strong to end this season. And yeah, just got to be positive and hope for the best. But yeah, that's a good rank you're at. In your case, I think top 50k is more than attainable, even top 10k, but it's obviously going to be a big push. HYFY says, sorry, adding on to my last point, Trent to Munoz and Vissa to Mateta for a -4. My answer is yes. I don't think Trent will be available for Game Week 30. We should get more updates during this international break on him. FA Cup predictions for next weekend? That's a good question. That's something I haven't been asked before. Let me just see if I've got the graphics still for the FA Cup matches, because I did have them at some point, but I'm not sure if I do now. Maybe I don't. No, I don't think I do now. Let's go to this one, actually. This is where I had it originally. Let's see if I can add the source now. Okay. All right, just give me a second. I'll get this up for you. Just want to make it easy to follow. Might as well, since I had the graphic prepared and I showed it a few weeks ago. I think it was last week. So let's get this up. Here we go. And I'll also add the permutations of what the FA Cup results would mean for Blank Gameweek 34 and yada yada yada. So I think that's the best thing to do. So, let's do that. And then Blank Gameweek 34. Okay, now we're just going to add these scenes, and here we go. We can talk about this for a little while. It is a very good point. There we go. Okay. Getting there in the end. Yeah, my ugly face is gone. Yay. Bombaclot. Yeah. Let's do that, and there we go. Okay, so these are the FA Cup matches, and I'm also going to get up the other one. Just doing this on the fly. So, yeah, that's why you'll probably see... Actually, I'm an idiot, aren't I? I can just do studio mode here. That's the best thing to do. Alright. Blank Gameweek 34. Oh, maybe that actually didn't do any difference, but... Alright, so... FA Cup matches, Fulham Palace. That is a tough one to call. Palace won 2-0 at Craven Cottage just 2-3 weeks ago. Before that, I think they went 5 years without beating Fulham, actually. I think this could be one of the games that goes to penalties, or at least go all the distance, extra time and stuff like that. I would slightly favour Fulham, but that's very close. Preston North End, Aston Villa. There could be an upset. I'm going to go Villa, though. Bournemouth, Man City. I think Man City will get the job done. But then again, I predicted them to win so many games this season, and they've still just never really gone to that sort of level from last season. Bournemouth have a chance. They really do. This could be another one that goes all the distance, but I'm going to go Man City. Brighton Forest. Oh, 7-0 for Forest only a couple of weeks ago. I think Brighton get revenge. That's my prediction. So I think Fulham, Villa, City, and Brighton go through. Difficult one to say, though. And these are the permutations for Blank Gameweek 34. So Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. The match will be postponed in the following situation. If Crystal Palace beat Fulham in the FA Cup quarterfinals. So what I just said, I think Fulham will win, so that wouldn't be the case. Bournemouth versus Man United. If Bournemouth beat Man City in the FA Cup quarterfinals, then the match will be postponed. Brighton versus West Ham. If Brighton beat Forest in the FA Cup quarterfinals, the match is postponed and it forms a blank. Man City versus Aston Villa in Gameweek 34. If City beat Bournemouth in the FA Cup quarterfinals and or Aston Villa beat Preston North End in the FA Cup quarterfinals, the match will be a blank. Nottingham Forest versus Brentford. If Forest beat Brighton in the FA Cup quarterfinals, they both will blank in 34. And lastly, Southampton versus Fulham. If Fulham beat Crystal Palace in the FA Cup quarterfinals, that will be a blank. And yeah, there are 4 confirmed fixtures for Blank Gameweek 34. Chelsea versus Everton, Liverpool versus Tottenham Hotspur, Newcastle versus Ipswich Town, and Wolves versus Leicester. Based on my predictions that I just said now, and maybe I'm chatting absolute nonsense, I would basically be backing, let's see, so Brighton, yeah, so Brighton to blank alongside West Ham in 34, so they would maybe double in 33. Also Fulham and Southampton to blank in 34. City Villa, yeah, I'm fairly sure that's going to be a blank either way. And I think that's about it, right? Yeah, that is my set of predictions there for how things will go. in the FA Cup quarterfinals and stuff like that. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat too. But let's go back to my amazing team for FPL. Finley says, Vissa to Evanilson next week. Yeah, I do think it's an upgrade based on fixtures for the next couple. Pratik says, hi Dylan, which two to start next week? Vissa, Bruno or Aina in 30? I'd favour Vissa and Bruno here. Thank you, Sandri. Pieter says, I haven't watched F1 in years, but always Team Ferrari because I watched all the races when Kimi won the championship. Our great Finn driver with Mika Hakkinen. Yeah, and back in the day, I was obviously really young, but I watched a lot of clips, obviously, once I grew a bit of a brain, you could say. Schumacher Hakkinen is one of the best rivalries, I think, especially of the late 20th century, early 21st. That was a great rivalry. Q Licky says, sold Isak and Palmer for Elanga and Haaland for -4. Nice. 30 points from those two. Currently on 60 with Robinson, Gabriel and Ryan to play. I wish I joined you on that. I was very close to doing the exact same moves alongside buying Gabriel. If you wildcard in Gameweek 30, would having 3 Newcastle, 3 Palace, 2 City, Salah and Bournemouth be interesting? Yes, but I don't think you have to triple up on Newcastle and Palace. I think the almost must-haves for Palace and Newcastle would include Mateta, Munoz and Isak. Then you just add anyone else for a bonus like Gordon when he's back from suspension and stuff like that. Maybe Murphy. Vissa to Evanilson, or do I bring in a Palace asset, example Munoz? I'd favour Munoz. Marmoush or Mateta? Mateta. Forest in the Champions League next season. And can Forest take over second place? Yeah, they can. They can. I mentioned this before. They've got better fixtures than Arsenal until the end of the season. And Arsenal's focus will be on the Champions League. And if that means they reach a final and win it, I don't care if they finish third or fourth, but that is a big if. Did Dango come on at the striker position? I believe he did, but the thing is, he's naturally a winger. He can play up front as well. But I'm going to quickly double check that for you because I've mainly just seen the highlights and I saw the goals and, you know, some detailed analysis, big chances. I saw Evanilson's miss, for example. But I'm going to double check that for you and make sure I'm not chatting absolute nonsense. So, yeah, Dango Ouattara. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like a left inside forward. He wasn't hugging the touchline, but he got into central areas a lot. So, yeah. The thing is, he came on for Sinistera, so he technically was on the left, kind of complementing Evanilson. But he wasn't the lone number 9, of course, since Evanilson played the full 90, which was one of our biggest concerns, actually, with the Brazilian. He got the minutes, but not the FPL points. Patrick says 29 points with Bruno captain and Palmer to play. Yeah, it's okay, and hopefully for both of our sakes, we can get some big points tomorrow, especially from Bruno. Pratik says, I hope Arsenal wheels don't come off with the league wrapped up by the time Saka comes back. Yeah, look, I've said before, I'm honestly, like, I don't care if Arsenal finish second, third or fourth. I just want first and nothing else. But for optics, for maybe confidence going into next season, if Arsenal finish 25 points behind Liverpool and finish fourth, that's a very bad look, in my opinion. Twisted Parky says, Arteta for me sometimes frustrating, but I sometimes feels he deserves a bit more respect. More trophies would be nice for Arsenal fans, but a serious good outfit again. Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably a good way to sum it up. This year, more than any other, I've had a lot of criticism about Arteta. The way he sets up for certain games, substitutions, tactical approaches. Sometimes he's gotten it wrong. So yeah, I think that's definitely a good way to sum it up. What's your best ever finish in FPL? I think 10k, just outside the top 10k it might have been, yeah. I think you look a tad more like Alvarez than McAllister. Yeah, I've gotten both of them as comparisons. I've gotten a lot over the years. Back in the day when I was really young, I got Marco Reus and who knows who. You reckon Wildcard has won so far, given they can save up to 5 free transfers till 31? It depends, mate. It depends because some of the Wildcards, they won't have Elanga, for example. Maybe some do. I know someone in my mini league who I'm facing this week and he's got all the players I should have bought this week. But I'm not sure if that's actually the case. There's different ways of playing the game of wildcarding. I don't necessarily think wildcard 29 is a massive advantage personally. Palace will smoke Fulham. Maybe you're right. I think it'll be a cagey game. It might go to penalties. I think that Bournemouth win. City is so slow. Yeah, that's one of the games I'm kind of conflicted about. And that's my main issue with the FA Cup quarterfinals. I mean, they're actually quite contested and very difficult to predict. That's why wildcarding now, or in Gameweek 30 even, yeah, you don't have all the information and the understanding of the double in 33 and the blank in 34. Madden says, so much about luck not being the biggest factor. So some folks who say that, I was set for Wood captain and Nico Williams in, but 7 minutes before deadline, I realised I can go Haaland, Wood and Bellegarde for a -4. Fair play though, you got some good transfers in. Bellegarde might not be great long term, but he got the points on the board. That's the most important thing. And Haaland is always a good acquisition, even though today he wasn't great, but he still got a goal. Palace, Villa, Bournemouth and Brighton for me. Yeah, the Palace and Bournemouth ones I'd maybe reconsider. I went the other way for both of them, but yeah, I'm quite set on Villa, and I think Brighton will beat Forest, surprisingly. Easy says Bournemouth, Forest, Fulham, Villa, more teams in double game week 33, 8 team, then 6 team. Yeah, we'll see how it all pans out. It should be interesting, but they're difficult to predict in my opinion. I'm going to say Palace, Preston, Bournemouth and Brighton win. Imagine that for a semi-final lineup. Yeah, it's wide open. New winner. Should be good to see. Palace, Brighton FA Cup final. That would be interesting for sure. Wood to Isak next week for free. Yeah, I think Isak's an upgrade with the fixtures and the double game week in 32. As good as Chris Wood is, I'm not against that, to be fair. Dara says, I wildcarded out in Boomer and Vissa, but I'm still up 11 points on wildcard with Bruno and Gabriel left. Yeah. It's not always going to go plain sailing. Some people out there might have 50, 60 points in a week like this, and it is going plain sailing, but yeah, you're always going to have rocky moments. That's still a good green arrow. And I was so close to an Areola clean sheet. Yeah, O'Brien with that goal. I actually like that goal a lot. It's just like a Route 1 cross. You know, the ball doesn't touch the ground and it just goes in. But yeah, for those with Areola and West Ham defenders, very frustrating. Preston won the FA Cup twice, second 5 times, Brighton second once, Bournemouth I don't think final ever, and Palace FA Cup second twice. Yeah, actually wasn't aware, or I forgot about Preston North End winning the FA Cup. Of course, they were the first Premier League team, well, the first team in England to go the entire First Division unbeaten, but it was like a 18-game season, I think, but still very impressive. Dango came on for the left wing. Yeah, exactly that. How far can Arsenal go in the UCL this year, Dylan? Well, they can go all the way, but will they? Probably not, if we're being realistic. I just think the lack of a quality striker, and in certain moments, I think when they just need that goal and things are tight, they lack that inventiveness, that game changer to get them over the line. And that's when Isak would be perfect, a midfielder to complement Odegaard and provide more creativity. Another winger who can take on their man and then put in a great ball for the striker or to score themselves. Arsenal lack that. I think Saka will be very important when he comes back. He's one of the only world-class attackers that Arsenal have. The rest are not average. I think they're good attackers, but not enough to win a Champions League or Premier League. When do we find out when teams double? Well, that's the thing. We don't know definitively yet because obviously the FA Cup quarterfinals will give us a great indication. I just showed the permutations just now. But in terms of official announcements, because there's still a possibility some of these games go into Game Week 36, for example, I think it's still more likely it goes into 33. But we should have that clarification when the FA Cup quarterfinals take place. But it's not 100% locked in, basically, if you catch my drift. El Clasico Champions League final, what do you think? I hope that's not the case. I hope Arsenal reach and win it. But yeah, from a neutral's perspective, it would be amazing. It's not the best Real Madrid or Barcelona we've seen, but it's still good enough to be an exciting game, I think. Have we now learned that Marmoush is covered for Haaland, at least considering the price? Yeah, but let's not forget, before today, he blanked in 5 out of 6 games. In one of those matches, he scored a hat-trick, but he's going to be very hot and cold, I think. He might not provide the consistency that you're probably looking for. Good to see you, Latino Dialects. All good. Not FPL, but who cares about that anyway? Hopefully you're doing well too. I was not keen on Bellegarde, saw someone mention in the deadline stream, but it paid off. It's just the fixture, in my opinion. I don't really like him beyond the Southampton game. There was 1 or 2 questions where I did suggest Bellegarde over Minetzi and Sarabia, but because of the minutes more than anything else, not because I was that bullish on him. Miles says, what to do with Dango now with 0.0 million in the bank, only 1 free transfer? You could make a case for Jacob Murphy. He doubles in 32, basically. Guys, Preston have won the FA Cup, says Twisted Parky. The famous goal, so Nat Lofthouse, when he barged the keeper into the goal in one of the finals. I need to see that, but it does sound familiar. Who do you think are the three best forwards in Game Week 30? Isak, Mateta, and Haaland. Are relegation battles since 2 seasons ago become a bit lame? Is this due to players not being good enough to stay in the Premier League? I think there's multiple factors. There's a bigger gulf between the Championship and the Premier League based on finances and stuff like that. Yeah, I think player quality is a big factor. But also, in a lot of cases, not all of them, we are seeing teams that just get promoted. They play out from the back. They do things that established Premier League sides are doing, but they should maybe adapt a little bit more, like Brentford and Thomas Frank did a couple of years ago. They still play some good football, you know, direct, route one, sometimes long balls, but they are playing good football now, but their priority was just to get results and stay in the division. None of this playing out from the back all the time. They go long when needed. So I think that's also a big factor. Welcome, Ori. Hi, Dylan. Long time no see. How's the season going? Terribly. For me personally, it's up and down. Currently 250. Hope for 100k. I'm buzzing for tomorrow. A race and a cup final for us. Yeah, that's not too bad. The rank is decent. You're still in touching distance, or within touching distance of 100k. Yeah, I'm not really looking forward to the Carabao Cup final tomorrow, to be honest. I mean, Newcastle haven't beaten Liverpool in 10 years, so I kind of know the outcome already, I think. But yeah, F1 should be good, I think. They were both in the 50s. Preston was one of the best teams. But message retracted, maybe there was a mistake there. But yeah, Preston in the 30s, I think, were winning stuff. Their title came in 1890, though, I think it was. Music Kiwi says, get Munoz or Gavardio for a 1 week punt, or get both for a -4. It's still Munoz for me, but very good question. How's it going? Yeah, all good, Teza. Hopefully you're doing well too. Should we use Wildcard next week? It's team dependent, Virat. I've always said this, so I'm not going to say, yeah, Wildcard next week, you have to. There's also Game Week 31. There's also a strategy where you can wildcard in 35 and set up the bench boost for 36. Those are the 3 game weeks I'd highlight for the wildcard, but it's not like there's a formula, there's a Krabby Patty formula, which gives you success. It's going to be team dependent. Now, Leeds and Burnley in number 1 and 2 in the Championship as the playoff spot of Sheffield United, Coventry City, Sunderland and West Brom. There could be some changes in that league table, but yeah, Leeds are a big club. They were very good to watch when Bielsa was there a couple of years ago. Frank Lampard bringing Coventry from number 10 to playoff round, which couple of wins since he took over. Yeah, he's doing really well. He also did a good job with Derby County before joining Chelsea as well. I was wrong, it was in the 50s, it was 1937-38. Yeah, with the FA Cup, fair enough. And I think the league was even before that. Yeah, I think that's fine, Vera. It could be enough for a green arrow at the moment, but if you don't have Bruno tomorrow and you don't have the quantity of players, then it could be difficult. But yeah, it depends on multiple things. What's your rank at the moment? The better your rank, the more difficult it is to get a green arrow, of course. And yeah, which players you've got left. When to use free hit? I think Game Week 33 or 34. Those are the 2 game weeks I'd really pencil and hone in on. What do you reckon happening in F1 this season? Max competing at the top even now? Yeah, I think he'll compete for race wins. He'll get a couple under his belt. I think pole positions will be tough, though. Track position will be difficult. We'll see how the race pace is tomorrow. I mean, there's still a lot to learn. Hopefully the McLarens are a bit slower in race pace than they are with the qualifying, but I really much doubt it. Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those seasons where Piastri, Norris fight for the title. Norris will probably win it. Verstappen third. I hope I'm wrong, though. 30 points, -4. 3 players left. Bruno captain. Palm and Cole were left. 1.9k to 2.5k doing nothing this game week was the best play. Yeah, that's good. It's a small red arrow. It's not ideal, but yeah, Bruno captain, I think that could be the difference maker, and I really hope it is. What are the confirmed fixtures for Game Week 34? Yeah, I did cover that earlier. We'll go to that one more time just so you can see it on screen again. So the confirmed fixtures are Chelsea-Everton, Liverpool versus Spurs, Newcastle versus Ipswich Town, and Wolves versus Leicester City. Andrew Barton says, Leeds and Burnley go up automatically and Coventry playoff winners. Plus, I'm a Wednesday fan and we are going to inflict pain on the Blunts tomorrow. Oh, we'll see how that goes, but good luck for that derby. Next double game week, Game Week 32, Crystal Palace and Newcastle. Should we get Alanga? No. This was the week to get him. That was his first club brace, by the way, so look, he did very well. it was more of a fixtures play. I wouldn't be buying him necessarily. I mean, if you're in the market for a budget midfield at that price and below, he's fine. He's absolutely fine. But I'd also look towards Murphy instead with a double in 32. And yeah, I just think the time has gone. You did F1 Fantasy this season? Yeah, I'm playing it. I'm not making videos like I did a few years ago. Obviously, there was like a request for me to make videos on it, and it was quite fun to do. But yeah, F1 Fantasy, obviously, the community is probably a lot smaller compared to UCL Fantasy and FPL on YouTube. Easy says, if Sheffield United go up next season, target opponent player of Sheffield United next season, they could be worse than Southampton. Well, they were terrible last season. They definitely were. But yeah, Southampton are giving them a run for their money. They've been pretty awful. With F1, you only know one thing. Stroll should be nowhere near it. Yeah, I mean, we pretty much know why that's the case. He is hated on a lot, but yeah, maybe he's a bit overhated still, but Aston Martin could still do better, I think. Bielsa Leeds were the most exciting, mad out of all attacking teams I've seen in recent times. Yeah, some people had them as a second team, so to speak, and that wasn't the case when Leeds were winning titles in the 70s. Is Mateta 100% fit and ready for double game week 33? Sorry, I'm obsessed with doubles now. He should be available, yes. Glasner has been very consistent saying that the target is for him to be available for the FA Cup quarterfinals, which take place before game week 30, so yeah, he should be available. 48 with bonus, any good? Yeah, it is good. And 2 to play, not great, but you've got the points on board. That's the most important thing. Alex says Munoz or Aina next week. Munoz. Forest midfield looking good? Yeah, they are. They are looking good, no denying it. And like I mentioned before, I was very close to buying Elanga and Haaland. I would have captained Haaland. I'm not too fussed about not buying him, but yeah, this week that would have been a big difference maker. Yeah, I think you will, Gary. Like I mentioned before, Newcastle haven't beaten you in 10 years. Yeah, I don't see that changing. Absolutely horrific game week. For a lot of people, yes, but there are some good scores in the chat, which is good to see. How many points do you score in UCL? Over 60, I think. It wasn't a great week. I think it's a small red arrow. I'll talk about that in my UCL fantasy videos. Vissa, or should I get Mateta? Mateta, all day long. Was going to buy Elanga this week. I only liked him for this one, to be honest, against Ipswich Town. He's benchable against United, as bad as they are. But yeah, in hindsight, that would have been the best play for my team. It would have meant selling Palmer, though. Maybe in game week 30, if Palmer goes off big, then the points balance out a little bit, but that's copium, I think. Do you think Marmoush will start now every game? Not every game, but my prediction when he got benched last week against Forest, and I showed the news according to Lazy FPL with their, obviously, reveal, my prediction there was that he would start against Brighton and Leicester, but the international break is very important, so we'll see how that all goes in the end. Let's answer a few more questions. When to sell Palmer? I think on the wild card for some people in 30 or 31, that could be a good time. The thing is, if I'm being honest, facing Tottenham at home, I'm quite bullish on a return. Yes, I was against Leicester and Southampton and he flopped, but I think he can do really well here. Salah needs a trophy to catch Ballon d'Or. It's important. Expect to win the Ballon d'Or other than goals and assists. Look, I think Liverpool will win the Premier League and the Carabao Cup. I'm not sure if that's enough for Salah, though. I know he's been brilliant all season. He deserves to be in the podium. For me, he's in the top 2, but Rafinha has been amazing in the Champions League all season. I've said that all along, even when Salah was still in the competition. Those performances against PSG were terrible, in my opinion. They were really poor for a Ballon d'Or winner. Carabao Cup especially. I mean, that's a small trophy, but trust me, I'd rather win that than win nothing. Winning that and the Premier League is an impressive season. With the goals and assists he's got a good case to win it, but I just think the Champions League lets him down big time. 28 points, no minus, with Palmer, Robinson, Gabriel and Bruno captain remaining. Yeah, okay score, good players left. I think he'll get a green arrow personally, depending on your rank. Eze or Sarr for double game week 32. Sarr's got the form, but I would lean towards Eze if you've got the funds. Should I go Mateta or Henderson? Mateta for me. Thank you, Vera. I appreciate it. I have double midfield of Bournemouth, but should we get someone else in the midfield? Well, Semenyo is 1 yellow card away from suspension, so that's something to worth keeping in mind. Yeah, I'd probably look elsewhere if you can, but not in game week 30 when they face Ipswich Town. I think that's probably a move worth making in 31 instead. Salah will be on the mode to score more goals and assists. It'll be good for the FPL captaincy. Well, they've got nothing else to play for after this Carabao Cup final, so they can try to get as many points as they can in the Prem, as many wins, win the tower as soon as possible. But yeah, I said this before when he was scoring and assisting every single game. There is going to be a drop-off, and I think we will see it, but it's still going to be very good. Like, he should be on course to break the assist record. He only needs 4 more to break it, with goals as well. Yeah, he might fall just short of Haaland's record, but he'll be very close. 48 points, yeah. Evans, I did cover your question earlier. It is good. Who is winning UCL? Yeah, I've said, for me, Real Madrid are my favourites. I'm going to stick with that. I did actually a ranking earlier in today's deadline stream. I said Real Madrid first. I think I said Barcelona second. Inter Milan third. Bayern Munich 4th, Inter Milan 5th, Arsenal 6th, Borussia Dortmund 7th, Aston Villa 8th. That's my rankings. I have Joao Pedro, Wood, and Evanussen. Who to sell for Isak, or to get in Isak in 31? I'd sell Joao Pedro, despite his great form recently. Easy says, other than attackers, which players in the midfield, defence, or goalkeeper could win Ballon d'Or this season? Good question. Yeah, goalkeepers, I just don't really see it. Who are the best goalkeepers this season? I think Rye's been one of the best goalkeepers, but he's not going to win the Ballon d'Or. Defenders, Van Dijk will be in the list, maybe in the top 10, top 20. Yeah. I don't really see it, to be honest. Trent will be in like a top 25 list. Midfield, I think Kimmich's been really good this season. Ballon d'Or worthy, probably not, but really good. Yeah, it's just really Rafinha. Lewandowski's in the mix, Mbappe, Salah. Those are the main ones at the moment. Anyone but Real Madrid, please. Yeah, I hope they don't win it. I hope we stop them, but yeah, I think they will. Was that double touch of Alvarez? Apparently so. From all the footage I saw, different angles, it didn't seem like it was a double touch, but it is what it is, right? Don't want Real, want someone else to win it. Not PSG, though. Yeah, I mean, for PSG, I like Luis Enrique. But would I want PSG necessarily to win it? Yeah, probably not. I just want Arsenal or nothing. So if Arsenal get knocked out, cancel the competition. Bruno needs to save me. Same here. Big time. Captain Salah or Haaland next game week? Salah is my current preference. I'll make a top 10 captaincy list closer to the deadline. Bournemouth's press is too good for City. We might be cooked. Yeah, earlier I said I think City win, but I'm not convinced about it. I just think Bournemouth have been relatively poor recently. Some of the fans even think so as well, but they're still having a good season. Kane, yeah, Kane. Yeah, to be fair, he does deserve a mention, yeah. Now, in the Champions League, before the goals against Leverkusen, he was having a kind of, decent Champions League campaign, a bit like Salah. Now, of course, he's gone above him in the Champions League rankings for sure. And for the Ballon d'Or, yeah, Kane's got the most goals, I think. Top scorer of the Bundesliga. He's going to win that title. Knocked out of the German Cup early, but yeah, Champions League is more important. The curse of Kane possibly over. Well, it's really the curse of Tottenham, isn't it? But I get your point. In terms of big moments, though, and I'm not hating on Kane, there will probably be a big game in his career coming up very soon where he delivers the goods, maybe against Inter Milan, and then after you're looking at Barcelona. Maybe he comes up with the goods, but I just think in a lot of big games, Harry Kane has gone missing, in my opinion. Just saying. For England, semi-finals, finals, for Tottenham Hotspur, Champions League final, he was technically come off the back of an injury, I get it, but yeah, I think he is kind of due a big performance in the big game, but he's a great player. McLaren fan here, Melbourne isn't our strong suit, and being almost 4 attempts in front of Max is ominous for all non-McLaren fans. His only chance tomorrow is if it rains. Wow. Yeah. I just think McLaren are too strong. I don't like it when a car is that dominant, but it's always like that. F1 is a mixture of driver skill, engineering brilliance and stuff like that. But yeah, more often than not, we do get a dominant car. It looks like McLaren is the one this year. How many points more should you score on free hit for it to be considered a success? If you get 20 or more points, I'd be fairly happy with it. If it's like less than 10, yeah, I'd be a bit disappointed. That was the case for me last season. Best replacement for Dango, that's 5.3 million. Murphy, doubles and 32. Keep it simple. You could say Alanga after today, I get it. And he was on radar for me. I wish I went for him, but okay, it's done. Whatever. Yeah, it's between those two. Alanga, Murphy. I'd favour Murphy for the double. Salah will never rest, even if Paul secured the title several game weeks before the end. Yeah, I agree. It's just, will his levels drop maybe? I mean, I think his recent performances have dipped a little bit, especially against PSG, but yeah, he's still getting good returns in the Prem. You'll hear one name tomorrow, Garnacho. Hopefully not. FIFA or PES? I've mainly played FIFA across my life, so it's probably that, but I don't like FIFA. I have a toxic love-hate relationship with it. I used to have PES games back in the day on the PS2. Yeah, maybe PES is objectively the better game in terms of actual gameplay. But yeah, I've been on FIFA most of my life, so I'm going to go for that. The social aspect of it. Pro clubs and stuff like that. Villa, Arsenal, Barcelona, Dortmund, Milan, Bayern, Real Madrid, PSG, my rank of preferred winners. Fair enough. Arsenal quite high up on the list. That's not going to be the case for most people. Ask anyone here. List your order of preference. Arsenal being at the bottom for a lot of people, but it is what it is. Yeah, to be fair, Bournemouth wheels are coming off a bit. And I bought Evanescence. Well done, Dylan. Would you buy Isak or Julian Alvarez if you were Liverpool? That is a great question. Alvarez is having a great season. They both have a lot of potential. They're still similar age, right? 24, 25. Probably Isak, but I hope you don't. I hope Arsenal get him. Don't think this season will be fun and interesting like the previous one. Yeah, after Verstappen's dominant start, it was very open. McLaren were the best team, but you still had Mercedes winning the odd race, Ferrari, Verstappen. Now it's just going to be McLaren, maybe Verstappen, McLaren. Boring. Hopefully that's not the case. Saka could return in early April for Game Week 30, basically. Want to monitor? More so for UCL Fantasy, though. More than FPL. I think Arsenal might rest him a little bit, maybe. They don't need to rush him back against Fulham. The priority is Real Madrid and getting the job done there. We need to be our best. Yeah. The defence for City, though, is just absolutely shambolic. And is Rodri that good? Is he really the difference maker? It's hard to believe, really. But if we saw last season, when Rodri was suspended, there was a clear drop-off. So it's the same pattern again. What I've seen this season, I just give the Ballon d'Or to Pedri or Valverde. Yeah, they've been great, to be fair. Pedri's been getting a lot of Player of the Match awards. Some of them undeserved in UCL Fantasy, but we can talk about that in those videos. Yeah, they're good shouts, to be fair. Kimmich for Bayern Munich. But attackers always get a big advantage, and I think you're looking at Salah, Rafinha, not Vinicius right now, Mbappe, and Kane. Yeah, those are the front runners for me. If I'm doing the rankings, I'd put Rafinha first right now, Salah second, Kane third, and Mbappe fourth. Mikkel says, Mateta and Sarr for a -4 in next game week, worth it? Depends who you're selling, but I like the look of it, yeah. If you don't have Munoz, I'd highly recommend him, but Sarr's a decent midfielder. Kane wants more team trophies than individual trophies. He always be cursed for not winning the cups. Why not both, though? And Kane could, if he wins Champions League and the Bundesliga, he's got a great chance at the Ballon d'Or. Time to sell Mbumo? Possibly. Especially for those with 2 or 3 Brentford players, which might include Vissa. I still think he ticks along nicely. I might even bench him in Game Week 30 and start Bruno Fernandes that way. I've got a big benching dilemma. Yeah, Kelvin says, Pez, I don't disagree with you. I'm not one of those fanboys who are like, FIFA. But yeah, I've had FIFA most of my life, basically. So that's why. Pez for me, always preferred it. Yeah, I think it is the better game in terms of actual gameplay and less scripting, even though there's probably is an element of it. 27 points, -4, Timber, Wanyeri, Robinson and Palmer left. That's decent. Yeah. The only concern for you, the biggest obstacle, is Bruno Fernandes. Free hit last year sucked when we all went Luton, Hwang, Zabani, etc. and all that dross. Well, I free it in 29. I don't think I had some of those players. Maybe I did, to be fair. Yeah, that was a disaster. It was completely terrible. I forgot who I had. I might have gone for 2 or 3 Spurs players. They lost 3-0 to Fulham. So yeah, hopefully that happens tomorrow. 65 points with a -12. Bought in Elanga, Milenkovic and Haaland. Yeah, big hits, but who cares? I mean, all of them did the business. Gameplay and less dumbass trophies. Yeah, I can't really disagree. Right now on my PES mobile, says Pratic. FIFA was fun till 2015. I like FIFA 16. It was flawed, but pro clubs were still fun, long shots galore, stuff like that. I think it got really bad from FIFA 19. That was the one where I thought, nah, man, the gameplay is terrible. Absolutely terrible. Even FIFA 18 was like, ugh. Yeah, the last decent FIFA game-ish was 17, in my opinion. 18 was still fun. 19 was... I hated it. And I still platinumed it, I believe, but I don't know why I did it. Hussein says, would you bring in Sarr for Neto or Munoz for Robinson next game week, or both for a -4? I'd do both for a hit, to be fair. Yeah. Now, could Pedro Neto score against Dr. Tottenham? Yeah, he could, but it is Pedro Neto. Hopefully he doesn't score tomorrow like he did against Arsenal earlier this season, but his record is pretty terrible. I have Xbox 360. I also like PES. PES 18. PES already give many features in old games. I never had an Xbox. I've always been a PlayStation guy, but yeah, 360, one of the best consoles. And yeah, I mean, there are some great games on that, some exclusives that I wish I could play, you know, on the PC or PS2, PS3, PS4. How worried are you about Real? Robbie AFTV says he's not scared. I didn't watch, just a thumbnail. Maybe an element of clickbait, but I haven't watched what he said. Am I scared? Not scared, but I think we'll go out, if I'm being realistic. I mean, yes, we've got a positive record against them. I've got to get that in there. 1 win, 1 draw, 0 goals conceded. Thierry Henry, thank you very much, but we don't have Henry right now. They've got Mbappe, Vinicius, these game changers up front. And I'll be honest, I don't rate them that highly, those players, but they are amongst the best in the world right now. And yeah, I think Real Madrid will win. Hopefully they don't. We'll see what happens. I asked you about double Nottingham Forest defence, and you said you like it, and then I proceeded to buy Nuri instead of Milenkovic. Well, look, I don't blame you for going against my advice, but I have to say, in my defence, I give better advice than I follow them myself. I make some bad decisions from time to time, especially this season, but I think my advice can be wrong at times, but sometimes it's not too shabby. With Milenkovic, though, that's a big swing. I mean, who expected him to get 10 points from a goal and an assist? Not me. Dortmund lose again in the Bundesliga. How Dortmund are good in the Champions League but terrible in the league? Probably just a cup team. A bit like Man United right now. But yeah, I think Barcelona will maybe not wipe the floor with them, but they should comfortably beat them. Especially in Spain, should I say. So when Saka comes, then Saka to Parma? Possibly, but like I just said a few minutes ago, Saka might not be rushed back in the Prem. They might bench him against Fulham, get him some minutes, so he's not worth buying from the get-go. I think Parma's better than Saka in Game Week 30. Then afterwards, it might be different. I feel Bournemouth are kind of overrated. Should we really triple up on guys who have 3 losses and 4 in the Prem? Their form is bad. Like I mentioned before, some of their fans aren't happy with their recent performances and results. I mean, look, they are punching above their weight. They've got some good players. I think Kluivert is still one of the best midfielders in the game. Evanilsson's a decent differential up front. Kirkes is getting returns still. Howson offers okay value. I still don't mind him, but I don't like Kepa. I've never been fond of him. Semenyo, I'm really off him right now. For those that have him, worth holding on to and starting, but if he gets booked in the next couple of games and he gets 2-game ban, just get rid of him. Would you start Wood or Mbeumo for 30? Wood is my preference. Chris Wood. Pause. Pratic says, went for Trent to Kirkes, didn't take Milenkovic instead since I have Aina already. Another blow. Well, at least Kirkes got an assist, but yeah, I get that sort of thought process. I don't really blame you for it. Yeah, like I mentioned just now, the Milenkovic one is very unlucky. Kane to win Ballon d'Or. Elise is a baller. Yeah, he's doing really well, to be fair, Elise, but I think Kimmich is also going under the radar. It would be Kane for me, though. If Bayern Munich win the Champions League, and if he continues this form up, then yeah, he's got a great chance. I don't think Bayern will win the Champions League, though. I think Inter Milan could knock them out. If not, Barcelona should do. I sold Isak to Haaland this week. Is it worth doing Wood back to Isak? Yeah, I think so. Most games I've seen Kane play, I could not go for him. Boring to watch at times. He's an efficient player. He's not fancy. He's not a great dribbler. But he's a good passer of the ball, a great finisher, fantastic penalty taker, and his record speaks for itself. But if I'm on about the best footballer in the world, Yeah, I mean, this season I'd say Rafinha or Salah. I had FIFA 98. I think my first one might have been FIFA 02. Then again, I'm quite young. I did have some F1 games from... To be fair, I did have a FIFA World Cup game, the France one from 98. This is my first season in FPL. I have 1,870 points, but still losing in the cup. Decent score, considering it's your first season, to be quite fair. Don't worry too much about winning the cups and stuff. I really don't pay attention to them. Rudiger's probably really scared of Marino. Yeah, not. Now look, Rudiger will probably score a bullet header now that I've said this, but I see this kind of rhetoric that he's the best centre-back in the world. He's a good centre-back. I don't think he is. Yeah, but against Marino, he'll probably look like Sergio Ramos in his prime. Benching Boomer, Elanga or Bowen next week? Tough one. I'd say Elanga, despite what he did today. We'll see how that goes. Couldn't have a worse week so far if I tried. Bournemouth triple and Forest triple all blanked. Yeah, in a 4-2 win for Forest. Yeah, that's very disappointing. Saved a little cash for Saka's return. A midfield with him, Palm and Salah +1. Hopefully will do. No Haaland. Yeah, that's a really good point. That could actually be my plan in terms of selling Haaland. Sorry. Selling Bruno Fernandes to Saka. I've only got 0.9 million in the bank though. Yeah, it does require a bit of reshuffling, but I think I can do it fairly soon. I think Game Week 31 is the best time to buy Saka, if not Game Week 32. Do you think PSG can make it all the way? Defense is so underrated as their prospects of going far. Yeah, they were 5th in my ranking, I believe, just behind Inter and Bayern. You could arguably put them higher. I think in terms of the odds, they're second now. I think they'll beat Aston Villa. Maybe not comfortably, but yeah, win in Paris, draw, maybe narrow loss at Villa Park. But yeah, look, Villa are still a decent team. They could surprise people. I wouldn't completely write them off. But I've got the wildcard in UCL Fantasy, and my plan is to go all in on Paris Saint-Germain. Let's go for a few more before wrapping up. Twisted Parky says, my first major football game was Euro 96. I had Worldwide Soccer on the Saturn. That was brilliant. Yeah, my first console was PS2. I played PC before then as well. And yeah, I played F1 and FIFA games pretty much all the time. And Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. Virat says, what happened to Italy football team? Almost all the teams are out of Champions League. Well, they were the dominant league in the 90s and early 2000s. But yeah, the balance has shifted to the Premier League with the finances. That's a big part of it. And La Liga, you know, Barcelona and Real Madrid are always a big pool. And you have the Ronaldos and Messis going there. Now Mbappe, the big stars going to the biggest clubs in the world. But yeah, with Italy, Inter Milan are still very underrated. I think they can go all the way. But they are not pretty to watch, I'll tell you that now. Yeah, Michael, for me, Salah, but it's close, and Haaland will give him a tough run for his money. I'll cover this with a top 10 list in a couple of weeks' time in my future videos and live streams. Bryce says, I'm quite confused now. Who will blank in 33? Game Week 33 should be a double game week. 34 is the blank. I'll go through that very quickly again, since I have actually covered it a few times in the stream. Feel free to rewatch and pause at your own leisure. So the 4 confirmed fixtures for 34 are Chelsea versus Everton, Liverpool versus Spurs, Newcastle versus Ipswich Town, and Wolves versus Leicester City. Those teams will feature in Blank Gameweek 34. And with the other games you see, you can also witness or read the permutations in terms of what the FA Cup results would mean for certain teams blanking in 34 or the game going ahead. So these are the FA Cup fixtures: Fulham versus Palace, Preston North End versus Aston Villa, Bournemouth versus Man City, and Brighton versus Nottingham Forest. So just to go through it one more time, the Arsenal Palace game that is scheduled currently for Game Week 34, if Crystal Palace beat Fulham in the FA Cup quarterfinals, both Crystal Palace and Arsenal will blank. In the case of Bournemouth versus Man United, both of them will blank if Bournemouth win against Man City in the FA Cup quarterfinals. For Brighton versus West Ham, if Brighton beat Nottingham Forest, then Brighton and West Ham will blank in 34. For Man City versus Aston Villa, both of them will blank if either City or Villa win in the FA Cup quarterfinals. So that one is very likely to be a blank there. So we could see City double in 33 and 36, and that's where Erling Haaland could be very useful. For Forest versus Brentford, if Nottingham Forest beat Brighton in the FA Cup quarterfinals, then Forest and Brentford will blank. And finally, Southampton versus Fulham. If Fulham beat Crystal Palace in the FA Cup quarterfinals, then both Southampton and Fulham will blank in Game Week 34. Hopefully that's made crystal clear. If you have any other questions, let me know down in the comment section below. And you can also feel free to reach me on Discord, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, and all of that stuff. Pieter says Rudiger is just prime time fun to watch. I don't rate him as the best defender. I agree with that. You know, he's got some funny moments. He's a good defender, one of the better ones in the world. I just don't think he's the best one, like some people say. I think the Real Madrid tax is very strong with that one. Let's see. Oh, dear. Yeah, I think the connection might have dropped a little bit, so I do apologize for that. But we are wrapping up very soon anyway. That probably was an internet issue, if not maybe something with my software. First console I bought myself was Sega Saturn and then PS1. Yeah. I kind of wish I had the PS1, but I was too young for that, I guess. Had a NES before that. Yeah, kind of making me feel nostalgic. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks, Dylan. Likewise, Frankie. Rat Dog says, on Wildcard 31, should I bench Enzo and Dango to play 4 at the back and start Howson, Gavadio, Aina, Munoz, or I can sell one of the midfielders to buy someone at 5.3 million or less for a 1-week punt? Yeah, I mean, you're looking at Jacob Murphy or Elanga. That's not too shabby, but I think I just start what you have and roll the transfer and focus on building your Palace and Newcastle coverage for double Game Week 32. Native Faith says, do you think Man City should prioritise getting a new goalie? Yeah. Yeah, I think so. That should be one of the priorities, but also defenders. They could have 1 or 2 more. Another midfielder, maybe even 2, with some of the possible outgoings, and Bernardo Silva and De Bruyne aren't what they once were. They need quite a lot of work. A backup striker to Haaland. I know Marmoush technically feels that, and he can play on the wings, but maybe more of a natural number 9, so to speak. Got 51 points. Elanga, Gibbs White, and Wood. Got no Bournemouth, though. That's good. They might be appealing for Game Week 30, but they stunk up the gaff this week. Dele Alli just made his return in football in 10 minutes and got sent off. Yeah, I saw that. I don't know who he played against, though. Seriously, people thinking PSG winning if they can't win with Cavani and Neymar. And with Neymar and Mbappe, how can they win now? Better team. They're more of a unit now than they were with Messi, Mbappe, and Neymar. Great names, but tracking back, non-existent. Tactically, I think they're stronger now with Luis Enrique. PSG destroyed Verratti and Draxler. Verratti was always decent, to be fair, just fairly injury-prone. But yeah, I think ultimately in football, especially nowadays, it's more about tactics and the team, how they perform as a unit rather than big names. You know, Galacticos don't always win the Champions League. Ariel says, took a -4 for Milenkovic, Garnacho and Haaland captain. Happy with 38 points so far? Yeah, good stuff. Milenkovic, big haul. Despite the 2 goals conceded, arguably a dream scenario for you, because those with sells like me, Nico Williams, Aina, all pretty terrible. PSG more of a team now than a few class individuals, but I hope they don't. Yeah, I agree. Football Manager is goated. Yeah, there was also back in the day LMA Manager. I think it was. Yeah. Yeah, Twister Parky mentions it as well. LMA Manager was good. Also, I always bought Eddie Howe. Oh, well, I don't think I knew who Eddie Howe was back in the day, to be honest with you. Will we know who doubles in 33 before the end of the next deadline? It's possible, Karam. It's possible. That's why, in my opinion, it's probably just best for a lot of people, not all. Unless you're absolutely certain you want a wildcard this week, I'd advise you to just wait, because if we don't get the official confirmation of the Game Week 33 doubles, and let's say those blank Game Week 34 fixtures go into another week like 36, that could change things, and maybe wildcarding now is a bit awkward. The NES was terrible. My parents made me get in. That is compared to the Mega Drive, etc. Yeah, I've never tried that, to be fair. I've played different consoles, like with friends and stuff, but in terms of what I've got, basically all PlayStation, PSP, PS Vita, PS2, PS3, PS4, and PS5. Thank you, Vera, and likewise to you. City didn't do enough to keep Alvarez. Yeah, but to be fair, it was a big transfer fee, wasn't it? And at the time, I thought, that's great money. But they could do with him now. Lee Bishop says, hi Dylan, I still have my triple captain to use. Only option I can think of would be to use on Isak in 32 or any other options. There are always other options. Game Week 36 could be a double for City. Erling Haaland there could be very appealing. Game Week 33 as well, but it's also a question of other chips and when do you plan to use them. Rat Dog says, thoughts on Bournemouth rotation in Game Week 30 after the FA Cup? Yeah, it's possible, and I've currently got Evanilson benched, despite buying him this week for a hit. Great work, Dylan. It's possible, to be fair. That is a very good point. Their main priority should be on the FA Cup for sure. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them. Yeah. I could see a few changes. I think the likes of Kirkes, Howson, Semenyo, Cliver, they should all start. But with Evanilson, for example, and Dango, we could see rotation there. Mega Drive was my first console. I love that Street Fighter and Sonic. Yeah, great games, to be fair. I did play more of Sonic than Street Fighter, but I have played a bit of both. Ozil is one of my favourites, underrated. As a playmaker and chance creator, he's one of the best to do it. Very frustrating, though, at times. The lack of work rate can be very frustrating, and I think in certain games he did cost Arsenal. He's either brilliant or just really frustrating, I think, with Ozil, but I do remember more of the good with him, and when he joined the Gunners, I mean, he helped Arsenal lift 4 FA Cups, I believe, or 3 in his case. Still very decent. Jellyfish Potter says, hey Dylan, good to see you. Kirkes and Howson both suspended for the FA Cup, for the Cup, I thought. Yeah, you might be for the Cup, I thought. I need to double check that, to be fair, but my point is I expect them to start in the Premier League anyway, in Game Week 30, but the suspension risk to look out for here is Semenyo on 9 yellow cards now. Hey Dylan, non-FPL question, what's on the food meal today? Homemade pizza, margarita, and different types, 4 cheeses, I think blue cheese and different stuff, but it's pretty good. Some have peppers. I will enjoy it. Problem with Arsenal was that they don't have good strikers. That time they have Ozil and Sanchez. Yeah, Giroud was decent, but he was a backup. You needed that killer number 9, which they still do now, by the way. Van Persie and Aubameyang are the only 2 world-class strikers Arsenal have had in the last decade. The 3 teams that got promoted this year were so disappointing. Afraid this is a trend that will continue to happen. Yeah, I was asked about this before, the reasons why. The lack of quality is obviously a major factor, but I also think the way these teams approach games, the lack of flexibility, always playing out from the back and not kind of maybe being more defensive and churning out results, that could be a big part as well. Street Fighter 4 is so damn hard. Last 2 combo trophies are difficult. Yeah, Have I played Street Fighter 4? I might have. I didn't own the game myself, though. Animation says, lovely stuff. Love the questions on about FPL. Yeah, so do I. Who cares about FPL anyway? I'm going to have Thai curry, green curry, and watch Beck. Enjoy yourself, Twister Parky. I actually had a lentil curry yesterday, and it was pretty good. Very good, actually. Championship Manager was quality. I love that in the 90s. Did you play it? I don't think I played Championship Manager. I'm technically a millennial. I don't know what the bloody terms are. I'm from 1999, so yeah. Portugal winning the next World Cup? I don't think so, but they've got a lot of talent. Never say never. Only 9 countries, I think, have won the World Cup. Or 8, I think. Yeah, Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, Germany, Italy, Spain, Netherlands. No, Netherlands haven't won it. England and France. Yeah, so 8 countries have won it. Yeah, could it be 9? Maybe. But look, things will change very quickly from now until the World Cup. But it's fast approaching, only a year left, which is a shame. Which is a shame. I do like just not worrying about that and just having the World Cup. But yeah, things do change in football, cycles and all that. Thank everyone for watching. It has been a pleasure talking to you for the past almost 2 hours. So yeah, with a 3-hour deadline stream earlier and 2 hours now. Yeah, 5 hours worth of content today. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload or live stream for both FPL and UCL Fantasy. Also check the links in the description below for my X, Instagram and Blue Sky, Dylan RCM. You can also find me by typing FPL Dylan. There's my Discord server, FPL League, FPL Challenge, Spotify, and Patreon, which is patreon.com/Dylan RCM. There is my join button on YouTube as well. Pieter says, one thing that I've learned over the years that as a Man United fan, I don't talk about Van Persie with Arsenal fans. Yeah, I mean, I was obviously upset in the moment. I wasn't that old anyway, I was a teenager, but yeah, looking back on it now, I do understand. It's a bit like Campbell moving from Spurs to Arsenal, albeit Van Persie won 1 Premier League title. I wish we win a Premier League title one day. But yeah, he made the right decision if you think about it from that perspective. A part of me does think, well, if he stayed, could Arsenal have won the league? Probably not still. Probably not. They always lack something. It's the case now. Back on that day, they just didn't have the defensive line, the quality defensive midfielder, because Diaby unfortunately was always injured. He was a great talent. And nowadays, they've got a great defense and structure. Midfield is good on paper, still needs a bit of improvement, but the forward line is really lacking. Thank you, Pieter. Likewise. Who do you think will win the World Cup? Well, Spain are in a great position right now. They would be the current favourites for me. But yeah, I'd still put Argentina up there. I hope we can retain it. It's going to be very difficult there. England have a chance, I think. I know it never seems to come home, but I think England will be my top 5 quite easily. Don't write off Brazil. They might look terrible now, but if they qualify, and they probably will, yeah, they'll be one of the front runners for the World Cup. So those are my top 4 favourites. Yeah, France, yeah, they've been the best in the 21st century, or up there anyway, in the last 20 or so years, 26, 27. Twisted Parky says France, Germany, England, France, Germany, England, Spain, Brazil, Argentina, Italy, Uruguay, all winners. So that's 9, right? Yeah. I was missing one. I think I might have missed Italy, who have 4. No. Or who did I miss, actually? Well, to be fair, yeah, you said France twice, so yes, 8. Yeah, only 8, I think, countries have won it. Let's get it straight. France, Germany, England, Spain, Brazil, Argentina, Italy, Uruguay. So yeah, 8. It's a very select group. But Portugal are one of those countries like the Netherlands who are the closest, I think, to winning it from those that haven't done so yet. Yeah, I think a lot depends on the announcements. If we get clarification on the Game Week 33 doubles, then Game Week 30 wildcard looks great. But I think Game Week 31 or 35 wildcard will be slightly more popular amongst those engaged managers on X, YouTube, etc. Twisted Parky says, yeah, I did remember when you could also have championship managers and make everyone top stats. Even then, sometimes you lose. Scripted, right? Absolutely scripted. Best player to ever play in the Premier League. Tricky one, that Thierry Henry for me is coming from a Liverpool fan. That, yeah, for me, he's the best one. I mean, look, Ronaldo's the best to have played in the Premier League, but the best Premier League player in this era, yeah, I agree. I think Thierry Henry is the one. Robinson to Munoz for Game Week 30. Yeah. I was looking at something similar, but I could just sell Veltman instead. That's probably the better move anyway. Pieta says maybe next year. Yes. Next season FC. When I was a kind, France have never won the World Cup. Now they have twice. Equals dark days. Yeah, or when I was a kid. Things change, right? France were nowhere near it in terms of football. But in the 90s, they got some great players. Zidane, of course. They did have Platini in the 80s, but they just weren't close to the World Cup. Who'd you predict to finish top 5? I still think City do. I don't know why, but yeah, Liverpool, Arsenal, Forest. I think Chelsea still get there. Yeah. I think Chelsea and City. Maybe I'm being a bit boring. There could be a surprise in there. Don't write off Newcastle, perhaps, but with their injuries and I don't know. They've kind of been inconsistent recently. I haven't liked them. One day Finland got to the World Cup. I went crazy when we got our first Euros qualification in Euro 2020. Yeah, and Finland, of course, well renowned for rally drivers, Formula 1 and stuff like that. Yeah, in football, yeah, I'm surprised by that. I thought you would have maybe reached a few more Euros, but hopefully you can qualify for the next one as well. Best in the Prem, Henry. Best player in the Prem, Ronaldo. And most iconic, Cantona. Yeah, I think that's a fair shout. One of my favourites is Bergkamp. I don't think he'll be in any of these, like, the best Premier League player list or something, but I do think he deserves a mention. Vieira, Keane, Lampard, Gerrard, that's too many to really name, to be fair. Salah would put his name up there, of course. I wonder who'll be the 9th to win the World Cup, maybe an African nation. I think the most likely in terms of continents that have never won it, Africa's the most likely, I think, to get the next one. New Zealand, my nation, finally back for World Cup 2026. Very excited. Good luck, Ariel. Hopefully you do well. Maybe we'll cross paths, Argentina, New Zealand or something like that. But yeah, Chris Wood. Let's see if we can bag some braces and hat tricks there as well. So thank you, everyone. It has been a pleasure. And we have reached the 2-hour mark. I'll see you very soon for more FPL and user fantasy content. Enjoy this international break and the games tomorrow. A Carabao Cup final to look forward to, and more Premier League matches. And the Champions League will return, of course, for matchday 13. The quarterfinals are now upon us, and I've got the wildcard in my back pocket. So stay tuned for all of that, and take care. I hope I'll see you in the next few live streams in a couple of weeks' time.